6 minutes late, something like that.
Not anymore. We're not. Now we are exactly dead on time.
Don't use
from
any
the minute that we hit the start button.
5, 4, 3.
We're live.
We're good.
Oh. Is he always late? Absolutely, Nova.
No, I arrive precisely when I mean to, and that's what you say, isn't it? That's what
Little Platoon is never late. Late is Little Platoon.
That's right. No, you were always saying that about me when I pop up, so I didn't want to throw it at you, but I appreciate it.
Little Platoon's never late. It's the world that's late. That's
it is. Look, as the entire chat would agree with me when I say that it is far better to keep people going late than it is to arrive early when, you know, some people might not be ready for that yet. And, you know, it's just disappointing if you come too early. So actually what we're doing is completely above board.
Sorry.
Just want to welcome everyone back. I know we're incredibly infrequent. So let's try. We're going to try and make it consistent from now on. However, we are back. The Little Platoon, the Movie Cynic return with our wonderful hosts, or we are the hosts with our wonderful guests, Dark Hour, Vex Electronica, and Mega Geek. And we're here to kind of catch up with, I don't know, some things we missed, but I figured we probably should start with the most pressing matter, which was Alien Romulus.
Wow.
Yay.
Let me just change my picture real quick so I don't trigger any more people. Just so they know.
I would just like to say you guys are very consistent. You're on a bi-monthly schedule.
Hey, that's excellent. It's as long as it's consistent, I guess.
It's very consistent every 2 months lately.
Whenever Vex says she's changing her profile picture, that triggers me when you say that. I don't know about anybody else, but like what the fuck is going to happen now? Is it going to be like, is it the swastikas again? Is it something even more racist? Oh no,
yeah,
it's just the joke.
The blackface is probably the most intense one that you use.
Yeah. Isn't that Trudeau? Yeah, that's Trudeau.
It's my prime minister.
Yeah.
Like, if you get any shit for that, just be like, no, that's a legitimate liberal politician.
That's a world leader right there.
That's a world leader.
Well, I live in the UK, so I'm not allowed to say weird things anymore.
Oh, so, yeah, you guys are under a lot of crunch right now. Yep. Every time I show someone our stream and Vex is on, it's usually one where it's that, you know, the blackface, and like it takes a few minutes before someone's like, "What the fuck? Is that what your guest has? Like, the blackface?" But yeah.
I mean, I can put it on if it's a staple now. If you really want.
Yeah, if it hasn't gotten anything like torn down, I think you're good. It's
not yet. Maybe it hinders its pace in the algorithm, though. Who knows? Who knows? But whatever. Let me pull up the Alien Romulus thing, because that's you know, what's super important here. And I actually, everyone, created slides for this show.
Yay!
Oh, yeah, look at that. I brought up a whole photograph. So that
is a beautiful slide.
It is a really good slide.
If only this was this said things about the actual film.
I don't understand this slide though. What's the thing sticking out of its jaw?
That's the tail.
Is that the tail?
Yeah. I believe that's supposed to be the tail, and it's supposed to be just kind of like wrapping around, because that's not what its skeleton looks like or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, in the goddamn, in Alien Romulus, the tail is like 20 feet long.
Yeah.
Which is fun. That's actually of all the things that we could complain about. I'm not going to complain about the length of the tail.
Nah.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
I mean,
I thought we gathered an interesting panel for this.
Yeah, because like I was going to begin actually by asking if anybody on the panel liked this movie, because like most people seem to like it, except everybody I know who doesn't, and that includes me. So does anyone on this panel actually like the movie?
I liked it.
Oh, why?
Yeah. I actually enjoyed it as well, flaws and all.
Yeah, so did I.
Oh.
Very enjoyable.
I did not hate this movie by any stretch. I really enjoyed it for a little while, and by the it almost seems cliche now to say like the third act fucking ruined it for me.
Same here.
And a lot of times throughout the movie, I kept getting frustrated with the most obvious stuff, like the callbacks and the nostalgia baiting was like the wrong kind. We've had so many examples of it done well, of it done poorly, and this was like a mixed bag. It leaned a lot more towards the negative, though, in my opinion. But I do want to go through everyone and kind of, or just open up discussion. I don't give a
Vex.
fuck.
For me and Vex, it's round 2, right, Vex?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've triggered people on Twitter now, apparently.
Did you?
Saying, yeah, I like this okay movie. Apparently, that's a bad thing to have.
I was in round 0, okay? I literally was one of the first people to say anything about this movie on the entire internet streaming community. So I was round 0.
Well, let's start with Vex then, since she's the one that liked it so much. I read you gave it like a glowing review in your.
I did not actually.
What? I swear to God! Like when I first saw your tweet, I was like, "Damn, it's like some praise right here."
I praised the technical stuff, which arguably is the best part of the film. That's about it. But then I thought I made it clear that like the narrative and characters are what brings it down. I think it in the first half especially, it captures that essence of Alien, the first Alien film, really well. I liked the opening sequences. I liked the sound design. I liked the way it was shot overall. I liked all the monster effects. I just felt the characters, they leaned too far into stupid after the facehugger hallway scene specifically. That's where the film just kind of does a complete 180 for me. I didn't like all of the key jangling, like repurposing a lot of those lines. I didn't think it was very smart. It should have leaned all the way away from that kind of stuff. I liked the design for the xenomorph hybrid. Didn't like how it came about, though. Didn't care for any of the characters. I didn't like that it also like included the Prometheus stuff, which Film Comics Explained kind of threw in. That's probably because Ridley Scott had some hand, and that makes sense to me. I wish that we had gotten better character development with our protagonist, because like there's times where she starts to lean into the right direction and then again just kind of falls off a cliff, so that all of these these scenes that look cool but are really stupid can happen for the film. So like the xenomorphs in the hallway thing, like it looked cool, stupid as hell though. Like it logically doesn't make sense. Wasn't a fan of the Ian Holmes CGI too. I wish they'd just either gone full animatronic for that head or just used someone else. I know that's like a callback to some other lore, the reason why he looks that way, but I wasn't a fan of that. But
spoilers,
I had fun.
By the way, I just realized we spoilers, chat, spoilers.
Yeah. Overall, I had a fun in the cinema. I thought it was a great cinema experience. I didn't have that much fun in the cinema since I went to go see Dune Part 2 personally.
You had fun watching Dune Part 2?
I did. Is that a hot take? Dune Part 2 is very visually, it's just aesthetically pleasing. That's all.
Wouldn't call that fun, though. Never mind.
Yeah, we have different definitions of fun, right?
I guess.
I think given where the last 30 years of Alien has been, I think this is an okay course correct for the franchise. It reminds you why you like the Alien franchise. It doesn't lean... It tries to do some good justice, but it falls apart in the second half. So it's an okay movie to me.
It is.
Everything Vex just said is bullshit. That's my
review. It's not.
Yeah. Fight. Let the hate flow through you. Kill stream starts now.
I mean, is it my turn? So basically, I did really enjoy this film, but again, I'll say the same thing I said on the Brown channel. I'll point out the things I didn't like about it. Me and Vex disagree on this. I hated the photography. Hated it.
Really?
Hated it with the passion. The reason why I hated it was because that you really couldn't see what was going on. I'll give you an example. If you look at Alien, right, it's the corridors are dark and but you can see every color. You can see the white on the walls. You can see the blue on the monitors. You can see the green jackets they're wearing. It's photography at its best. It shows you everything. With this, you got like one room that's red, another room that's green. Another, you know what I mean? It's just pathetic. And also, I like to point out that I couldn't tell you what those ships look like. If you showed me the ship they used in that film and put it right in front of me, I would go, "What's that?" If you look at Alien and you look at Nostromo, you can see the beauty of that model. Such a fantastic model. The Sulaco.
An interesting note.
You could see
picture those, yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't see the shapes. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what the ship was that they docked with. I couldn't even tell you. I can't even draw that. I didn't even know what it looked like. Little things that I didn't like in the film was obviously the I didn't mind the Ian Holm thing, but I thought they stretched that out. Making him the main villain was a big mistake in my opinion. Just little things that again, people were complaining that the characters didn't have any character. They didn't have any characterization, and I'd say Alien didn't have any characterization either, nor did The Thing, right? And the reason why that you liked it more, one is because of nostalgia and how many years has gone by with Alien. You see it with rose tinted glasses. But two is that they hired actors that you'd seen in other movies, so they bring that baggage with them. Like for instance, Tom Skerritt, I'd seen him in other movies, so when I saw him in Alien, you know, I accepted him as who he is. I knew a bit about him, but if you were to tell me the backstory of Dallas, I couldn't tell you. Do you know what I mean? So in this film, right, when people say that there was no characters for you, you couldn't care about them because you didn't know about them, that was okay for me, right? But the difference between this film and Aliens and Alien is that the writing. So when you come to Hudson, and Hudson's cracking all those jokes, you warm to him because you're laughing, right? And then Hicks is so cool that you just gravitate towards him. And then you got Ripley because you know her from the first one, and that's why you gravitate towards those characters. But in this film, they were all dead characters, weren't they? Let's face it, you didn't care about them, which is a good thing. I think the reason why he didn't care about it is because of the writing. They didn't write anything good for these characters. The dialogue wasn't very good, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just, I think it's the writing that kind of spoils it. Again, the third act was just absolute bollocks, in my opinion. There are things in there that didn't make any sense. They established that the blood from the aliens will go through the hull if it's, you know, and keep going, which wasn't established in Alien because it stopped.
Right. Yeah, it stopped. Yeah, that bothered.
And then when the bit that really made me laugh is in the lift shaft where Andy kills the alien, and yet they don't fall through the floor, because when he kills the alien, there's acid everywhere. So why didn't they fall through the floor? It's just little things like that. But I'm just pointing out the negative things of this movie. But overall, I did enjoy it. That's my review. I'll stop there. I'll stop there.
Dark Hour then.
All right, I will start with the shorter list of things that I enjoyed. Okay,
Go for
number one, about 75% of the film, not necessarily the cinematography, but the effects, the actual going back to the practical effects was nice. The fact that they didn't use all CGI. They clearly were using silicone rubber and whatever that weird shit that they spray on it is to make it that sliminess.
You know what it is, Dark Hour.
Oh yeah. Well, they did have a xenomorph vagina on the wall, so we'll
they did, yeah.
They did like
assumptions. I did think that what the hell, the Andy character, the actor who played Andy, I know his last name is Johnson. I can't remember his first name all of a sudden, but I thought he did a fantastic job.
Agreed.
He had a really difficult job of, he had to basically play a malfunctioning robot that gets fixed, but then turns into a sociopath. So he played almost three characters. He played this really janky android, then one that's becoming better, but then one that same one becomes, you know, this murderous psychopath concept. And he changed his body language as he went along, which made it really cool. He did a good job. He had chemistry with Kaylee Spaney, but she had chemistry with nobody else, which I found funny. Other than that, I mean, there's really not that much that I enjoyed. You know, from the get-go, you get the scene where they immediately lean in on this nostalgia of, oh, here's the Nostromo, which makes no sense. Here's the remnants of the Nostromo. It went through 4 nuclear explosions, but there's parts that you can read.
Yeah, and that's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah. When they did effectively switch over to a heavily CGI, it was clear that they were worrying more about making the scenes make sense for that. Like the swirling acid scene conceptually is cool when you think about it. You go, oh yeah, well, if they were in zero gravity and this, all the acid's going, until you realize that the logic behind it, oh, we can't have it hit the floor, but if it hits the outer walls, it'll be fine. It's not, which is the exact same thing. If it hits it's still going to go through it. Actually, there's probably less to it. It's going to go through the hull easier then, because there's probably less. It's not going through several layers of stuff.
Yeah.
What else was there that just wasn't? I just couldn't stand it. Like I said, all the characters. I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into it because Ian said this, but all of them kind of represented just a singular concept. I'm the love interest.
Yeah.
I'm the pregnant girl. I'm the douchebag. I'm the clearly not a lesbian. And it just got to the point where I was like, they're not really, these aren't characters, they're check marks. And I don't mean that in the sense of like they were filling the quotas of like DEI stuff. I mean, they were filling the quotas of this is the kind of characters we need to have. We need to have this type of person, for these to work. And but probably my biggest problem with the whole thing is that they took aspects of every movie, and so I'm okay with some callbacks. You know, some of them weren't the worst, but when you start going through it systematically, trying to remember, like trying to make everybody remember, oh, do you remember Aliens? What about Alien 3? Oh, do you remember that we had this hybrid and that was in Resurrection? Oh, and we're going to bring back this alien goose shit that everyone hated in Prometheus. It becomes a very paint by numbers. Let's get every reference we can into it. And that, in my opinion, is the worst way to write a script, is to make sure that, because then because the parts that I enjoyed were actually the ones that were like maybe the 10 to 15% that was unique to this. The seeing how the employees get treated by Weyland-Yutani, like her forcing the numbers to not be accurate, so that way they can't send her, which was clearly them being abusive employers, which we knew that. We've heard that over the years and seen it in comics, but that was the first time we really saw it, like in film. Them breaking, you know, OSHA rules or whatever you want to call it, like, and that's where I am. I liked about maybe 10 to 15% of this movie, and it was the stuff that they actually tried to do different.
Can I ask a question? Right, I'm a bit confused on this. Okay,
sure.
So they got the ship. These kids got onto the ship, and they flew the ship out of the atmosphere to go to that other ship, right?
Yeah, well, that was the space station. Yeah.
So were they allowed to do that? Surely, if you flew something and they were in charge, they can see the ship going. Wouldn't they call where you going?
It made no sense.
There'd be like an FAA or something
of the setup that makes no sense. Like the premise for that particular bit is that there is a Weyland-Yutani space station in orbit of this planet, which is flying, as things in orbit tend to do, away from the planet and toward the ring, which makes no fucking sense. They actually describe, because their plan is to go up and find the cryo chambers from this thing in order that they can go to fly to some Edenic, nicer colony. The teenagers actually describe this as highly regulated equipment. So naturally, nobody at Weyland-Yutani, who's owned the fucking planet, thinks to try and stop the kids going up there. No one else has been there before them. No one tries to stop them going up, and no one knows about it once it finishes, because nothing about the film actually works.
I thought I missed something there, but you guys are confirming that doesn't.
Yeah, I thought I did too, because I remember thinking like they seem to be under their thumb here, under their control, under their watch, but they're free to kind of just fly up into space and commandeer a fucking ship that's owned by Weyland-Yutani. Okay,
it's even worse than that, because it's a space station that's up. There's dual spaces, so it's technically two that are specifically investigating the thing that Weyland-Yutani has made a #1 priority as a company. And it's up there. They have all these face huggers and all this
for 4 months.
For 4 months. And you're telling me they didn't send a single unit to go or at least put some sort of perimeter around it? That's probably the most unrealistic thing I've ever seen.
I'll do you one better.
No. There's a much more unrealistic thing, and it's right at the beginning of the movie, because I was kind of surprised by this, because I'd heard from several people that it's kind of enjoyable, but the third act ruins it. So I put it on expecting to at least find the first 2/3 tolerable. The fucking opening of the movie makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like the movie begins with them going, they send a probe on a spaceship to find the wreckage of the Nostromo. And the wreckage of the Nostromo is all completely perfectly intact and static in space. I just had to go back and rewatch the explosion from the end of Alien to confirm that doesn't make any fucking sense. Not only did they find that wreckage, but also the alien that Sigourney Weaver ejects from the ship is now also floating around the wreckage of the Nostromo, because famously things fly towards explosions.
Why was he in a rock
away from
as
them.
well?
It survives being in space. That, by the way, means that the alien queen from Aliens is also floating around outside. So I'm sure we can get another pre-sequel out of that when it lands on some random planet somewhere. But the basic premise, which is that we are going to tie this directly into the first Alien movie by making sure that absolutely nothing about the tie-in makes any fucking sense. So it doesn't work as a sequel because it can't actually, like, it breaks the preceding film for it to be a sequel. It also doesn't work as a prequel to the subsequent films. It's designed not to, because the idea is you get to the end of the film and nobody knows anything about what's been going on, except, of course, that they should, because the Ash robot, or Rook in this case, Rook being the chess term for bishop, they're very imaginative, these writers, can, like, theoretically communicate with anybody they want to and has been doing so anyway. So they should know about what's been going on around here anyway. So, like, by the time you get to the later Alien films where nobody seems to know anything about what's been going on, it doesn't work because this film doesn't actually tie in properly. But it also doesn't tie into the preceding one that it's supposed to be directly related to, because they don't understand how anything by, like, physics or time or space or anything about it works at all. So I sat there thinking, well, this is just horseshit from the beginning. What is it that people are enjoying about this movie? And I said, well, okay, reasonably well shot. Does the atmosphere kind of okay? Otherwise, though, it's Deadpool and Wolverine, but in space. All it is a list of callbacks and call forwards that people will say, oh, I remember. The plot makes no sense. And I'm kind of bored already of living through this era where, because it doesn't hate the audience, and I've said this before, but it's still the thing, the film doesn't hate the audience, which I think is why the audience kind of likes it. But, like, that's not enough for it to be a good film. By all means, go away and enjoy it if you like the tension. Not that I actually think there was much in there, but nevertheless, go, like, by all means enjoy that kind of thing. But if the film doesn't work as a story, and if it doesn't work as a sequel, and if it doesn't work as a prequel, and if there are no characters in it, and if none of the decisions make sense, and if all the people acting in it are fucking dumb, it's not a good movie. It's just reminding you of a good movie.
We're not saying it's a good movie. We're saying we enjoyed it.
Yeah,
So
that's it. That's it. We accept that it is not a great movie. We accept that it does, it does definitely clear the bar for, like, Prometheus and Covenant, but it is nowhere near where Alien.
The bar was on the floor, Vex. The bar, you can clear any bar if it's on the floor.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that last Star Wars film when the Death Star got blown up, and suddenly there's bits of it on. You remember that? I can't remember which Star Wars film. I think it was the last one, and it's the same thing with the Nostromo as well. That's meant to be blown to bits.
Yeah, it was very much a somehow Palpatine returned moment. The first thing that came to mind is, oh, they've done that again.
Yeah. One of the worst things about this movie, and this isn't even about the like the characterization or anything, I think that this had such terrible pacing. So there's no reason for the beginning to drag out as much as it does to get to the ship, for us to see our first face hugger. Anybody going to see this movie, I would say there's likely no one that has at least not a little bit of knowledge of this series. They could have chopped that in half and got to some of the better stuff quicker. We know what the aliens are. We know what the xenomorphs are. We know what the facehuggers are. We don't need all of this crazy amount of setup. You had a quick, like, in, and just they part of the problem was the way it was written, that they had to introduce these characters like in this weird way, because they were all new. They were all brand new. There was no anchor point for this to be connected to anything. So everything was starting fresh when it shouldn't have.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. I actually appreciated the characterization of Andy and Rain to the first two acts. I really enjoyed their interactions. I thought the actor who played Andy did fucking spectacular. I thought he was the best part of the entire movie. I feel like that's kind of a through line through most Alien movies, though. Whoever's playing the droid ends up being like the hero, you know, at least as far as acting goes too. Yeah. But can we talk about the biggest problem for me was the nostalgia, because like you said, Platoon, like we are in this era now. Like it was like a cringe era, the bomb era, and now we're in like the hey, let's just not hate the audience era.
The self-reflective era.
Yeah, the self-reflective era, the I'm sorry era.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem for me was like you said, Dark Hour, every time it would introduce something new and fresh about itself, that seemed appropriate, and I really liked that. And then they'd kill it with some fucking line that's meta and completely suck you out of the movie. And fast forwarding to the end, the third act, because everyone said that's bothered them, and that was definitely my biggest thing too. referencing or kind of wrapping the ending around the most hated movie in the entire franchise seemed like a bad idea to me.
That's Ridley Scott's touch. I really do like. It's like Fede Alvarez couldn't get this greenlit unless he got specific approval from Ridley Scott.
Fucking terrible way to end that movie. The third act is essentially like where they just go over the top and do too much. Like if the first two acts just kind of remind you of the original movie, the third with little drops here and there of the other ones. The third act's where it really ramps up and wants to be aliens and like alien resurrection all at once, like all the action stuff. But they fast forward, like, what's the point of having auto aim on a gun? And aliens later on, the Colonial Marines don't have it. Like,
that's a mistake, though, isn't it?
That's a game reference. That's what that is.
Yeah,
but that's meta and fucking
even the references. Even the meta references have to be called out in the script as meta references because this film is addicted to over exposition, even of its jokes.
Agreed.
There is the bit when he's explaining that what all the functions of this gun, one of the characters, I say characters loosely, is explaining what this gun does, what it fires and has auto assist. And then she says, where did you get all that information from? Because he's just some bum from a planet. And he's like, oh, mostly games and comics. It's like,
that didn't make sense.
Got that without you making a joke that makes no sense. You could have. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Auto assist on a gun. It's just so unbelievably shit. And it's not as though even the aliens are all over the place and she needs it. That's one of the other annoying things about the delivery.
She can't shoot.
She can't shoot. But also, the aliens in this are so unmenacing. They just sort of very slowly advance in single file, so you don't even need auto assist. There aren't very many jump scares. I was kind of surprised at the lack of them. I thought we'd go in for too many of those. But the aliens just sort of slowly crawl toward you through a linear hallway, which you see them coming, and they're still coming, and they're still coming. So she shoots, and then of course you get the running out of ammo on the turret reference from Aliens. It's like, oh my goodness, I wonder if she's going to run out before she kills them. Of course she's fucking not. God damn it, why can't she die? And then it's so paint by numbers that I find it impossible to enjoy almost anything about it. The only nice things are just like, oh yeah, I remember when I enjoyed seeing that the first time in Aliens. Which is not the same thing as saying, "Oh, I enjoyed seeing it in this film."
I think maybe they should have started the film in between the story. Like I was thinking to myself, how could I make this film better? And I thought maybe they could be like they have on the High Seas Pirates, where they basically try to take over a ship and take all the stuff. They could have done that where. The company has all these aliens and they're shifting it one place, and these pirates come along trying to connect to the ship, and then they have to wake up the people that are in stasis to help them, beat the aliens, something like that. It's probably better than what they've given us. But I'm just saying that they started off with a good idea, and then they spoiled it with all this,
Agreed.
I remember stuff.
Actually, as you were saying that, I even just thought of something. They could have been hired by some other company that wasn't Weyland-Yutani. There's an unguarded Weyland-Yutani station. Why don't we go seize some stuff? Yeah, I actually really like that. Ian, get on it, Ian. Get on it.
I will. For instance, right? If the company had all these aliens in status, and they had the crew in status, and it was floating, and these pirates came along and they intercepted the ship, and they didn't know what was on it. Then these aliens wake up. They have to wake up the crew. Do you know what I mean? And that's a kind of a decent story to do, rather than do something like this. Because as I said,
that's almost like that. That's almost where Alien Covenant was going. Alien Covenant is a garbage movie, but it begins like the premise for any Alien Covenant sequel would have been better than this movie, because you've got a colony ship where you've got aliens on board already, and then you can wake them up, and you can do exactly what you're describing. I would have preferred to see an actual Alien Covenant sequel to this movie, because at least then it's starting from, it's continuing a story, a shit story, but it's continuing a story. It's got a fairly intriguing premise you can do new things with, and it doesn't have to break everything around it in order to exist, which this one does. But otherwise, in the field of better stories, I was sitting there watching it, like composing this sort of sci-fi alt story, which had nothing very much to do with the movie. I was just so bored by the callbacks. I was like, well, what happened? Like, the premise for my sci-fi story based on this film, or inspired by this film, is that there's an actor, and that he's young, and he signs a contract with a studio, but he doesn't read the small print. And then he goes on, he has a really long and successful career, and he dies. But in this world, you can bring people back from death, and the studio starts losing money, and so it keeps bringing him back from death to revive a franchise. And he gets so fucking sick of it after the 56th time he's been brought back that he has to go and trash his own reputation in order to get a quiet, forever death. And I was thinking that watching poor Ian Holmes' weird CG corpse being puppeteered around the screen, it's like, I could write that story. That'd be fairly good fun. I'd have way more fun than I would watching the movie.
The Rook thing is actually, again, this is a problem with being meta. That actually is canon in the extended lore. There are droids that are like it's a version of Ash, but they call them Rook. So it wasn't it might have been uncreative then, but that is a weird meta callback. On the note of the xenomorph, this is because it felt like every jump scare was spoiled by all of the trailers. Like every single scene with the facehuggers was in all the trailers. So I wasn't scared. I didn't feel tense when those came on screen. But the xenomorphs, there's that whole xenomorph tunnel, like towards the end of the movie, right? When she's shooting them. And I'm just like, when that scene popped up, the first thing I thought was, how the fuck were these like things not walking around before? Because every other Alien movie has shown that the xenomorph is a hunter. It's even described as an apex predator. So I'm just wondering how, like, there's all these people setting off like explosives and ships hitting things and screaming, and these xenomorphs are just like, oh, it's cool, we'll just hang out here, guys, till she gets here.
That's one thing that they attempted to explain. This explanation doesn't make sense because they don't go far enough into it. So I think that's the reason they made it a dual space station, Romulus and Remus. They never
get onto Remus. They are
always
they do.
On that's
Romulus.
When the ship crashes on the other side, they have to get over to the other side of the station,
which is Romulus.
Whatever, which I forget which order it was. But I think that's the reason why they did that, was to have this artificial barrier. But it doesn't make sense because you don't explain they didn't explain why they were sealed off from one another. So theoretically, having two stations connected to one another, there should be some sort of shared.
It was that railway system. That was it. So that's why, like, I'm wondering why did they all just stay there? There's like dozens of them. Why are they all stuck there?
Yeah, it was poorly. They attempted to explain that. It was done very poorly, and that was when I said this in my review, that there's the middle of this movie almost feels like it doesn't exist. So you have that big long opening. And then it kind of fast forwards through all the stuff that matters that you need, that would tell you all the details you need to know just to get to this multi-layered false finish third act. So and I think there's a lot. I wouldn't be shocked, because this is such a common thing in the Alien franchise. If there's a lot of stuff that just got cut out of the middle that explains things, and they just got rid of it for the nostalgia bits.
And also, they tried to baffle all the explanation, because, like, going back to that point of its addiction to exposition, I think, like, one of the other disappointing things, quite aside from all the cameos, I think it's the same problem, which is this fundamental lack of imagination. But it's like Eddie Alvarez and whoever wrote this movie, and then Ridley Scott, when he came along to try and ruin the ending of it, they all understand the basic kind of two core things that make the original Alien creepy. You've got the sort of metaphor for the horrors of childbirth, and you have, if anything, the slightly creepier aspect, which is the uncertain nature of artificial life, and the way in which you can't ever entirely be sure that a robot is going to be on your side, because there's this disconnect, an uncanny relationship between the artificial life and the human life that's supposed to inspire it. And both of those things have always kind of animated the Alien films, and particularly in the first one. But because it understands that as like the premise, but it doesn't know how to convey an idea without just telling you what its idea is. Both of those were taken to the absolute extreme, but in a way that leaves you absolutely certain of what's going on. So there's no really creepy menace about the androids in this, because they explain all the way through exactly what's happening to the android all the way through. Like, there was a specific scene, because Andy starts off as this defunct, like rescued version of an older android. It hasn't been updated for ages. So it's sort of like a vague metaphor for, I guess, like an autistic person or whatever.
And the autism, yeah.
And the autism. It updates while on the ship. And it gets a new prime directive. Its prime directive was simply take care of whatever the main character's name is, and then it becomes do what's best for the company.
Yeah.
Now, you could do interesting things with that if you show the update and you show it acting differently, but you don't explain to the audience exactly what's going on. Because the minute you say, oh, I've received an update and now my prime directive has changed, so now I'm no longer motivated to save you, even though I still am for some fucking reason. I'm mostly motivated to help the company all the way through. It's like, I know exactly what's going on. Why are you telling me this stuff? I can't be invested in this as a potential threat if you just told me it's a threat. That doesn't make any
yeah, that shows like no
drama.
confidence in the writing at all.
No.
Because
They changed the rules, didn't they? Like, for instance, okay, now we've discovered that these androids have this thing on their neck where you can pull out a little CD out of their neck and then put something in their neck to update them. How comes they didn't do that with Ash? If they wanted information from Ash in the original one, all they did to take out the little disc and put it in the computer and then figure it out.
Well,
right?
yeah. Why plug his whole head in when you can just read the disc? Is a good one.
But out of his neck. Yeah.
But then, like, he's the other side because Rook sort of anchors. I hesitate to call it a through line in the plot. He presents like the through line from Prometheus to now, which is that they captured the original fucking xenomorph, which somehow they found in the middle of all of space.
In a rock.
Hitchhiker's reference is basically mandatory at this point about space being really big. He goes into it and looks through its blood and finds that it's pre-Newtonian liquid, which contains the origins of better life than humans. And then he distills the black goo from Prometheus, and he's going to use this to improve humanity. That's his entire motive, and we know that's his entire motive because he narrates it for us. So he creates this vial of new black goo, and then Andy's mission becomes to take that away and get it safely to the company, except that he also makes his job harder by trying to save the people he just told us he isn't trying to save anymore, so he fucks up for no reason. And then pregnant woman, whose name I also don't remember, gets mildly injured on her way up to the escape ship. So she thinks, well, fuck it, I'm just going to inject the black goo into my neck. That can't possibly go wrong. Lo and behold, it goes wrong. And her being pregnant means that the weird baby thing comes out, and it's kind of like a mix between an alien and an origin human from Prometheus. And you just think, what? I don't even know where to begin sort of breaking all that down in terms of how fucking dumb it is. But fucking dumb it certainly is.
Do you know what they should have done, though? Instead of that stupid thing putting the thing in Andy's neck, what they should have done is immediately when he stepped onto that space station, he got reprogrammed, via the ship. That's what they should have done, and not explain it either. So his whole character changes.
The fact that they explained it makes me feel like I said they don't have any confidence in the script or or they're speaking to a very specific audience of like, the fans of the original are going to be watching this, so we're not gonna try and trick them. They'll sniff through it. Like, that's me just being glass half full. Instead of just being like really on the nose.
I was talking to me and Vex was on Ian's channel, and I said they should have hired these kids. They should have had TV actors or British actors, whatever. The reason why they should have that is because known actors, especially if they're just TV actors, they come with baggage. So if you put say the guy that was in Mad Men in this film, that character Mad Men, and you just bring in what's his name, Ham, was his name
John Hamm.
Hamm into this character, and John Hamm, therefore you would be linked with that guy because you've seen him in Mad Men and you've seen him in other stuff. And that's what they did with Alien. They had Tom Skerritt, they had John Hurt, and you'd seen them in other films, and that's why you can connect to them faster. And just hiring these kids that you don't even know, you've never seen them in anything before, makes it harder for you to connect with them. Same thing with The Thing.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all because everyone gets their start somewhere, and normally it's in horror movies. And a lot of like Halloween, like.
Yeah, no, hold on, right? But this is what this is what Hollywood used to do. That's the reason why stars were useful, because they bring baggage to films.
Star power doesn't sell a film.
You don't need star power in an alien movie.
No, but what I'm saying is that everybody keeps saying it's harder to connect to them, and I say it's harder to connect to them because I've never seen them anything before. If they were TV stars and stuff, maybe you can connect with them slightly more. That's what I'm saying.
I feel like it gives you a boost.
It would. So I think it would have helped the film, but I think it would have helped the film by trying to paper over one of its deepest core problems. problems, which is that it can't write characters. So like, it would have been maybe slightly more satisfying because, like, you remember seeing these people from other things, and that can bring in some sense of who they are as people. It still wouldn't have actually solved the problem, which is that the characters as presented in this film don't exist. I mean, they're just there. So, like, I think it would have made for a more, maybe slightly more enjoyable watch, but I don't think it would have solved any of the real core problems.
No, I think the writing is the problem here because the characters just weren't that interesting. Like Dark Hour is saying every character kind of checks a box. Well, so did they in Aliens, but they were interesting and have little arcs at the end too. Like, you know what I mean? Every character's like their story had an ending too, and something that they were
more so in Aliens
overcoming. Yeah, in Aliens in particular. Thank you, James Cameron, when you're at your peak.
Yeah. Most of the characters in this, they just come off as very wooden and almost
something in the water.
I didn't think they were wooden. I thought the acting was a lot of fun. Maybe it's me being American. I love every fucking British accent.
Oh, I hate that accent. Oh, it has no place.
You saw me in the fucking water.
You saw me in the fucking water.
That was one of the few one of the few moments where people showed decent emotion because they actually did show fear in that moment. But mostly it was Kaylee Spaney for the most part. I feel like she doesn't show much for anybody. She has a love interest that I feel absolutely no chemistry between her. And I'm just like, so why'd you even introduce him as the love interest? Like,
I was wondering that. I was like, are we gonna pull a Descent here? Like maybe something interesting along those lines. Honestly, I'm like, oh, some asshole impregnated you. Maybe it's like the love interest of the main character. Like maybe we're gonna go down some sort of route where you really are writing a character, like in an Alien franchise. But no, it really did kind of go like I liked Annie and Rain's connection, and that was about it. And then it really was trying to be like a fucking slasher movie in space,
which can be
until the third act when it went full fucking action movie over the top crazy.
The slasher movie in space can be fine. It just has to be well written.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Like the issues that Platoon has with acts 1 and 2, like all that shit is fine. It's the third act that fucking bothered me because it felt like a different movie. Like
one quick note from the beginning. So they do make a lot of stupid decisions, but they also show them make several super intelligent decisions, which we've never seen before, which then make the stupid decisions seem even worse. So they do the whole thing with the freezing the tail, and which is something that I don't even understand how random space miners would figure that out. Like, oh yeah, well, this thing will probably retract if we do that. They were essentially acting like scientists in that moment.
Well, no, it's kind of just like when you're cold outside, your balls shrink. It was that.
Yeah. Well, what about changing the law of
they
the face
shrink
huggers?
Dex, they go up into your stomach.
What about changing the law of the face huggers, where if you make a sound, they can hear you and all that rubbish? I was like, well, when did this happen? Do you know, how comes
it was sound and heat detection, wasn't it? So like they changed the thermostat on the ship, so face huggers are now non-threatening. Oh, that's way to build up tension. Great stuff.
And that happens after they find out that there's 40 minutes for them to get to the other side of the ship before so they managed to heat up that room really quickly for how big it was. There is just, in terms of the story thing, I don't know if anyone had read any of the interviews with the director, but he did say that Alien Isolation, the game, was a really big influence. And the more that we talk about this, I'm just trying to think, like, for the life of me, why he didn't just adapt that story more, because it kind of starts off with similar plot beats. Like, so in Isolation, Amanda Ripley, which is Ellen Ripley's daughter, right? Yeah. They end up finding a flight log from Nostromo, and then she goes to a space station to go like figure out what happened so she can get closure. And then it just kind of unfolds into the xenomorph nightmare. So the plot starts out almost kind of trying to follow those beats, and even in the way he sets up the atmosphere and tone, it leans into that. And then he just kind of abandons it because he has to include all of this other lore from the franchise, or it doesn't fit in the key jangling as nicely, sort of deal. And then that ends up highlighting even more that Fede Alvarez isn't really a strong writer. He's great.
Did he write this?
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of the writers. He's great at setting up things. That's why, like, Don't Breathe and his version of The Evil Dead were actually really fun, because he understands horror and he puts that well onto the screen. But when it comes to actual writing, he's not very strong. So I feel like The first half of the film is great. I really enjoyed it. I just wish that it stayed as like they tried to be that tense sci-fi horror instead of turning into just like, I need to connect all this lore and turn it into an action flick suddenly. I really wish it stayed consistent.
It seemed like the movie wanted to get everything in it could in case they couldn't get a sequel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Because you've got like all the things, like, if anything, too many things, which are designed superficially to drum up the tension. You've got the ticking clock of the space station inexplicably flying outwards towards some planetary rings. You've got the threat of the alien, which is supposed to be hunting them, except when it forgets to do that. You've got pregnant woman who's going to probably give birth reasonably soon. You've got the android, which is probably going to betray you because it told us it would, so obviously it's going to. You've got like all of these various things, which any one of them would probably be serviceable as the anchor point for your movie, like the main thing that's supposed to make you tense. Let's say it's as simple as you have to get from one side of station to escape on other side of station within time limit before alien kills you. Like that's sufficient, but you don't need to try and bring in every single aspect from every other film in order to like pretend that you're ratcheting things up. It just becomes diffuse. It doesn't actually work as a tension building thing. If you've got more consideration, there's so many different variables coming in. They're all so familiar that you know how they work already, but there are so many of them that you don't really focus on any one in particular. And so it's so obvious what it's trying to do, and so it's so obvious when it fails to do it.
Did they explain what happened to that space station though? Because when they arrived, everybody's dead, and but yet all the face huggers were in things. You know, it wasn't like they were all out running around and
that in the lab, right? When they do that exposition dump with, we're trying to advance human evolution. Yeah, what it's basically trying to infer is that they tried to do the experiment, shit went haywire. 4 months later, these people come. They had the face huggers kind of in cryo because that was part of the experimentation process. But even that doesn't really make sense when they've harnessed the goo anyways. Yeah. So it's all just very messy. Like, that also reminds me, why is there only one android on this entire station?
Well, I'm assuming there were more.
Where are they then? Like, shouldn't we be seeing
mullered?
More
they got mullered. I don't know.
Right?
Freddie Alvarez, whatever his name is.
Fetty.
Fetty.
I would say all those problems that like everyone's pointed out about the first two acts so far. Like, I was enjoying myself until the third act because of, I don't know, we were back for a minute.
It was one specific film. It was just trying to be a horror film, and then it needed to switch into an action film, and then it just goes off the rails.
Exactly, that's what I was saying when I was like, it was trying to cram too much in all at once, and it felt like whereas the third act is where it went really balls to the wall.
Didn't have any humor either. The humor.
No, not really.
But you need characters for that, and the film doesn't have any of those. It's like it's very difficult for even. They might have even attempted a joke here and there, but if they did, I didn't detect it.
We didn't have a comedy relief guy.
I thought it was funny when Andy said, "Get away from her, you bitch." I laughed.
That was
Jimmy from South Park. Get away from her, you.
right.
Yeah, that was funny for all the wrong reasons.
It was.
Oh, of course you did.
The bit where he says, "We have my sympathy," I just cringed at that. I was like, "Oh, they didn't do that, did they?"
I think my favorite thing was, yes, we have these, like, whether or not they were auto aiming or not. The Andy goes and grabs the guns. Are you good with a gun? Like, hello.
Well, it doesn't fucking matter if you are.
It doesn't matter. Don't use them. I was like, so then why'd you give them to me? Like,
the reasoning for that, the reason he gave for that was just insane. So maybe the alien will perceive it as a threat.
Yes.
Like the alien understands what a fucking gun is. What?
Yeah.
Why give them a loaded gun if you don't want them to fucking use it?
So that was trying to emulate from Aliens when they get shot at by the auto turrets and they finally retreat. But the difference is the auto turrets were killing like dozens of them, and they finally went, okay, this is a bad idea.
Yeah,
you know, not it's not like they have a genetic memory for what a gun is and what it does.
Well, you see, what'll happen actually is they'll remember this movie that came out 30 years on Earth, 30 years ago on Earth, but it actually takes place like hundreds of years in the future. They'll remember that. Yeah.
I remember other things, and like I know we're getting like slightly more granular, having done the huge fuck ups from start to finish already, but. Am I right in thinking when Rook is explaining what happened to the original Xenomorph, and it says, you know, it was on the Nostromo, there was only one survivor, and it was blown out of an airlock, that he can't actually know that yet because
No, he can't.
they haven't picked up Ripley, and like that information wasn't in anything that was sent to anyone. So he's narrating the previous film by way of callback, but can't actually have the information he's narrating.
That is probably the largest. I would say that that's even worse of a plot error or a inconsistency than the Nostromo having parts. Is that they're not supposed to know about her being alive at all. There's a
well, maybe they couldn't find her.
So
no, but it doesn't matter because the way that they do it at the beginning of Aliens, they essentially, and I know that it's Weyland-Yutani and it's a lot of bullshit that they lie, but that one doesn't seem like something they would lie about. They literally are telling her, we had no idea you lived. It was they stumbled upon her 80 years later or whatever, 67 years later, and so that one is probably more egregious. I can at least somewhat justify, maybe some parts got pushed away by the explosion. I can at least, in my mind, kind of get that. I cannot understand how this android would be able to predict the future.
Well, they do that
in the first Alien, didn't it got disintegrated by the big thing at the back of the ship?
The jets on the back of the ship.
All in it, didn't it? And it got blown to smithereens.
Yes.
Yep.
So what? There was nothing left of it.
Yeah,
so
but what you don't understand is, which you should, because Rook tells us, it's a perfect organism. Death doesn't mean anything to the alien. Right. It's perfect. Right. It can survive being blown up. It can survive the cold darkness of space forever. Nothing can kill it except the occasional bullet. And then when bullets do kill it, the acid that you can't let get anything doesn't actually get out of its head when it's shot repeatedly in the head because consistency.
They do that that information thing twice. So they do it with the Nostromo from Alien, but even they say, we got the information from Prometheus. Meanwhile, the ship Prometheus exploded before any data could be sent or anything. So how do you know any of this? And the android that knows it is floating in space right now.
I'm legitimately surprised. I'm legitimately surprised they didn't try to rope in Alien versus Predator. Like, and these things also touched down on Earth in like 2007.
So hated they knew better.
Well, 2007, they arrived at Earth, and there was something.
In Aliens versus Predator in the original, in the original AVP movie, anyway. Yeah. In this movie, they show that the alien face huggers require heat to, to bust out of their little cocoon thing or whatever. I haven't seen Aliens versus Predator probably since it came out. It was like 20 years ago. But I recall they were in a pyramid in Antarctica where it's cold as fuck. Did they do anything to like heat them up? Like what?
I don't know.
Is that new?
I think it was far enough down in the ground where you were getting like ground heat. But
I think you're digging there.
Quite literally.
That's some headcanon is a substantively new thing. The heat vision is the thing that like mechanically functions, and I don't think functions in any other film. But like you can read that back into AVP, I guess, because like humans are obviously warmer than their surroundings, so they would be detectable. But like it was just, I think that's because they had no idea of how else to use facehuggers. I mean, they didn't normally stop them, but they'd already used facehuggers in all the ways facehuggers have already been used. And then they thought, well, what else can we do? I don't know. Let's have them walk through a room full of them, and they try not to get detected. So fuck it, heat vision that'll do. But they can then spot you when you have an emotional moment on the phone with someone, and then everything goes to shit. And then the android who is now programmed not to want to save you, nevertheless times it so he can save you rather than just running off. It's just every single bit about it. And I wasn't even paying that close attention. That's the other thing, because like I'm not intending to do a video on this movie, though it's pissing me off so much I actually might. But I wasn't watching it thinking, no, I'm going to have to tear this down point by point. I'm really paying attention. I actually care about what's happening. I couldn't care about what's happening because from start to finish it made no sense. But also like I wasn't that bothered. But like everything you look at, it falls apart. And if it's not falling apart, it's only because they've stolen it from another film which didn't fall apart earlier. So it's just such a soulless thing.
Right. So you've mentioned all these things, right? The beginning doesn't make any sense. So it just makes you wonder when they're sitting there with the screenplay and they're talking about it. How comes they didn't notice these blaring mistakes?
I think that's a Ridley Scott problem, not necessary. I really think Ridley Scott had a bigger hand in this than any of us know of, because his stink is just all over it when it comes to the lore and the tie-ins. That's why.
All right. Okay.
So here's one of my favorite things about this. For them to have that many face huggers, there is no way around there not being a queen involved. where is the queen? What is going on with that?
This is where all of the scientific testing kind of is just like that's supposed to explain it away.
Yes, but it does. It doesn't. It's supposed to. But
and created them based on the xenomorph from the original Alien that shouldn't exist that they captured in space. Right.
Did anyone there's a glaring issue that made me laugh. So when they go into that cryo freeze lab and they take out the first fuel pod, then the temperatures start to drop on the facehugger specimens, and then 10 seconds later when they go back to that wall, all of the temperatures have risen insanely high instead. Did anyone catch that continuity? I don't know, maybe
what was it? Wait, what was it? Say it again.
The temperature readings. So when they pull out the fuel pod at first, right, it zooms in on the temperature readings of the facehugger specimens, and the temperature's dropping. It's going like 19, 18, 17. Then 10 seconds later, when the camera goes back to the facehugger wall, all of the temperatures are in the 90s.
I did not catch that. I may have been I may have been typing a note at that moment because there wasn't. Yeah.
I just by all the much bigger fuck ups to notice the small environmental fuck ups as well.
Also, just like look in the water, and then they put a camera on the water, and the water's like it's
I love Cynic. Can you do the rest of it? The rest of the stream in that voice, please.
Dude, honestly, when they put that in the trailer, and I didn't know what the fuck he was saying, I had to go back and look at the subtitles.
So
he has that fucking Michael Caine level, like
we're such a plane for will be size potentially.
I like that he's so British that Americans need subtitles. That's a new one. A special setting has been invented. Water. Yeah, there's no tea involved anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I was quite happy when he died, but I was happy when all of them died. I mean, it's another perennial problem. If you compare even fucking Alien 3, there were people there that I kind of liked, and they're supposed to be like the hardest, most villainous prisoners anywhere, but I found myself caring more about them than I did about anybody in this movie, because they did the modern slasher film problem where like they make everyone so fucking insufferable that you don't care if they die, as opposed to actually giving them some sense of an eternal life or like a motive that isn't just corny, like let's go fly a ship to Eden.
It's the writing of Little Platoon. That's what spoils the whole film, and the logic as well. I enjoyed it. It's a stupid story, but I still enjoyed it was fun.
I had fun with it, but it's just like I know it's objectively not a great film. I had fun with it. It's definitely better than where the franchise has been in recent years, but
it's fucking Alien, bro. You gotta love it.
Cynic, if you can find it, can you highlight True Pop Culture 7's comment about the facehuggers real quick?
Yeah, let me find it.
So
where is he?
He's a little bit up. I tried to,
I'll bring it up.
I can just read it. A drone alien can make one facehugger egg, and it would have been useful to see in the movie. So that's always one of those things that's like extended lore, mostly because they took it out of the original movie. That's only in the director's cut. So unless somebody is really deep in the lore, that still doesn't help much. And that's one of the things that there's so much headcanon and so much having to do your homework to make sense of most of the beginning of the movie, the way that how any of this is working and why things are happening the way they are, that it's a horrible reintroduction to the series or gateway into the series for new people.
I disagree with you. I don't think you have to do that much homework, and this is why they choose to do all those stupid like exposition dumps instead of just going with the flow. Because I've talked to quite a few people who haven't seen anything aside from either Alien or Aliens, and then they jumped into this, right? So I think like you don't have to do much homework. It's more like, hardcore fans are going to recognize this Easter egg and this Easter egg. Like it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense otherwise, though. I mean, sense
all
loosely.
That stuff is just that stuff is like, and that's the thing in the Deadpool Wolverine thing. Like, it's not really particularly designed to make sense as a story. It's bare bones and threadbare, if you can be both of those things at the same time. All of the sort of the deep cut, deep lore Easter egg stuff is designed to get people saying, oh, look, this one's actually good because it knows its history. And, if you actually know the franchise, then you can enjoy those little disconnected Easter egg parts of it. That's all they're really there for. I don't care about those things. I think there are ways you can naturally weave them into any story. And like, if you want to have them, fine, all power to you. But like, that seems to be a lot of the reason that many people are saying this is good. And it is depressing. It's like, that's all you need. It doesn't matter where sequentially these things are, if they play a part in the story, if they make sense in the story. The fact that they're there makes people think like, oh, I'm feeling warm and fuzzy now because I remember reading this in a comic. That's fine, but that's not what a good movie makes.
I just don't know about people actually feeling this movie because the fucking cinema score was a B+. And if we've talked about cinema score so many times on this stream, and cinema score is a sliding fucking scale. A B+ is more like a C or a C-. And that's even worse when you consider who gets pulled for cinema scores. It's the opening night audience, the people that really want it. And usually those people are the people that are going to be far more forgiving when it comes to that type of shit. So this movie getting a B+, I'm actually expecting a pretty fucking hefty drop next week at the box office too, because that means it's not actually going to get very good word of mouth. B+ isn't
you know what?
Good.
Do you know what? I give an example, right? I went to see the last Beverly Hills film in the cinema, right? I got invited by BAFTA and the cinema was packed, right? And I watched it and I really enjoyed it and people laughed at every joke. Then I watched it again on Netflix and I thought it wasn't as good as when I watched it in the cinema. And I think, right, when normies go to see this, especially when I was with my niece watching this, she hadn't watched the other Alien films, they'd accept it for what it is. It's stupid, but they found it fun, and that's all they take away with them. Do you know what I mean? And I think as we're super critics, all of us, right? And we know the lore and Alien, and that's why we say all these things, because we can see more than the normies. Normies will just accept it as a horror film and then move on, you know.
I think that's true, but like in 30 or 40 years time, like the difference, whether you see it or not, in 30 or 40 years time, no one will be talking about this and people will still be remembering the original Alien as being this groundbreaking sci-fi psycho horror drama. It's like, because there is the difference, whether or not you see it, it doesn't particularly matter. So I can see why people enjoyed this, just as I can see why people enjoyed Deadpool Wolverine. I don't think they I can say that I didn't enjoy it, and I think I know why it's not a good movie and why it won't stand the test of time. But as a cheap sort of Happy Meal kind of movie, fine, go and waste your money or wait till it comes out on streaming. But it's just it's needless though. It's needlessly stupid. It doesn't have to be this bad. You're going to spend a huge amount of money making it anyway. You might as well try and create something that can actually hold up as good for reasons beyond my feelings.
They don't know any better though. They don't know any better.
I think these studios know exactly how good they need to be, because Deadpool Wolverine's now made over $1 billion, and this has already made, was it over 100 million? They're making the money. It's just they're not making anything worth the money.
But the thing is, though, look, this director, right? He can't write. It's obvious. Otherwise, the characters would have been funny. You would have warmed to one of them at least. The only one we warmed to is Andy. Yeah, Andy. That's it, right? Andy. That's what I'm saying. It's the writing. The writing is bad in this. They didn't look at logic. They like us when we discuss about the Easter eggs in this and the stupid sayings that they had. If we were in charge, we'd go, no, you can't have that line in that film. You can't have that. Was from Aim. You can't have that. It's stupid. We know these people don't.
Fucking Predator design in AVP is so bad, it automatically is the worst in the franchise. Probably worse than Resurrection.
He had some of the coolest weapons in the series, though. So.
So I cared more about the Predator in AVP than any of the main characters in this movie as well.
And why you did is because they stole that from the Alien versus Predator comic book. That is actually fucking fantastic. The original one.
At no point did the Predator in AVP think, "Oh, that vial of black goo, shoot that straight into my veins while I'm pregnant." That's definitely a good idea. It won't in any way lead to some horror show at the end. Oh, look, a weird fucking. Have we talked much about the creature design at the end yet?
No,
I liked it. I liked the design of the creature.
I hated it.
That was the worst callback to such an awful movie.
I agree.
It was supposed to be referencing is like there's no way you're not going to be reminded of Alien Resurrection, the movie. And that movie's a fucking piece of shit.
It reminds me of Alien Resurrection and Prometheus.
Yeah, exactly. It was both. It was a hybrid of Resurrection and Prometheus, the two films that no one likes to admit they've seen even. Because it's just
I blocked that out. That's why I didn't reference it.
Yeah.
There was a really good
creepy.
super chat about it, by the way. Let me see if I can find it. I think there was.
We get all the super chat.
It's look. This film is a nice joyride, but then once you start thinking about it, it all falls apart.
Falls apart, yeah.
All falls apart.
Oh, we didn't discuss one big thing, which I thought was an interesting addition. The creature breastfeeds its dead mother.
Yeah, but that's what I was talking about earlier about, you know, the idea that the film understands the pregnancy body horror aspects of the original, and then it just takes it up to the max, so you can't interpret it in literally any other way. And so it just goes all in on what it understands was creepy about the first thing, but it goes so far all in that it ceases to be creepy and just becomes, oh, of course you did that.
Hi, Bagface.
Bagface.
I had to switch you a Bagface since my guy's actually on camera.
Oh,
how are you, Bagface?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm all right, matey. How you doing, pal?
Oh, you know.
Yeah, I don't even really want to touch on the alien at the end, because it pretty much everything Platoon just said, that it's all it reminds you of both of the terrible things. At that point I was so checked out. I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not at this point?
If Rook's grand plan is this will create the perfect organism, the hybrid of alien and human, why is it so fucking retarded? All it does is it stands there and doesn't do anything. It's like, oh, I look creepy. I'm going to stand there for the camera and fucking pose.
He had his mum, for God's sakes, didn't he? Bagface, by the way, there's something in the water.
There's something in the water.
What? Did I miss that line in the movie?
No,
it's
trailer.
It's
just
in the movie too.
It's in the movie, but it's Cynic keeps going into this ridiculous Cockney accent. I love every minute of it.
I'm fucking scared, bro.
Just do all the lines from the movie. Talk about like the automatic aim. Talk about like the perfect organism. Just all.
No,
of them.
I actually because I can't think of how to actually speak British, but when I see people type stuff for me in the chat, I can read.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
That's an invitation. There you go, chat. Be as British as you possibly can.
Yeah,
be.
give me British shit to say. But Bagface, thanks for joining us. But I kind of want to know what you think of this movie. So,
well, I have. If anyone in chat has noticed, I've stepped away from this group of people for a good amount of time. So I'm no longer a cynical asshole. I kind of enjoyed this movie.
I know.
I never. I was going to say the same thing. He's been stuck in eyes. God damn it.
I enjoyed this movie, though. There you go.
I think. So there's like two different things, right? Like the story is a little silly, but I don't mind it as much. I was a big fan of the like technical cinematography of it, like the set designs and the creature design, and I don't know, just a lot of the like DP choices and stuff. It was really good. Sound design was super fucking cool. I like the score a lot. The acting was pretty good. I feel like the guy who played the cyborg android was better than Michael Fassbender, which Michael Fassbender is a pretty good actor, and to find a random black dude who's pretty young and he did pretty well. I was stoked. I don't know. It's all right. And I'd never watched the original Alien movie, which I know is a sin.
You have now, right?
I have, yeah. So before I went and saw this, I watched the first Alien and then Aliens, and I thought it did a good job of keeping the style of those movies in a sense, and like the pacing and the tension and the
every single scene as well, ripped straight from them. Yeah,
they rip a lot, but it's so. I'd seen Prometheus before I saw any of the Alien movies, and then rewatching the Alien movies, or like watching them for the first time, I was like, oh, Prometheus is like just a copy paste of Alien/Aliens, which is pretty gross. And it felt more like an homage to that and less like I'm lazy and I don't want to write an interesting script, which was pretty cool. There was like almost a fourth wall breaking moment. I don't know if you probably talked about it when he's like, stay away from her, you bitch, or whatever.
Oh, there was more than that.
Yeah. There's a bunch of like straight cuts, but I like how it was kind of almost like a wink to the audience of like, haha, we did the thing. I don't know.
Dude, I fucking literally had someone sitting behind me, and when he says that, she goes, he said the thing. She actually fucking said, he said the thing. I wanted to leave. I mean,
it's like,
fuck out of here.
Out of all the Alien movies that have been done since Alien and Aliens, I feel like this is the best we've gotten.
The third best.
Mauler is like slowly dying in the chat, by the way, over all of this.
I'm sorry.
You have angered an eldritch god. Just
so you Bagface, you enjoy this then? You know, we see loads of mistakes in there. You had fun with it, just like me and Bex, I guess. Yeah,
it kind of felt like just a silly 80s horror action type movie again, which is kind of what Alien was and why it was so popular. It's not like it was the most engaging.
I'm sorry, Alien was popular because it was a silly 80s thing.
No, it was good. Like it was groundbreaking, and a lot of the stuff they did like pushed cinema. But I feel like it's remembered as like a good action sci-fi movie with like a little 80s charm in there. And I think this did a good job.
Which one are we talking
Aliens.
about?
Aliens is in the 70s, right?
Alien video is going to be called like an unbridled manic episode.
Yeah, it's I don't know. And seeing practicals again is fucking sweet.
That's like the one thing I think everybody on this panel agreed with.
Yeah, like practical effects. It was just fucking
awesome.
There
was a few, but majority of them was augmented by visual effects, by special effects.
I like the vagina on the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
xenomorph vagina is what we all needed, especially one that kills whatever's near it.
I'm gonna stab the vagina and I'm gonna lie underneath it as it droops acid on me, and I'm not gonna move out of the way because I'm a character in this movie. So of course I don't understand self-preservation. Oh, why is this burning me? Why is it still burning me? Oh no, it's fallen on my part.
Cynic, in your Cockney accent, you got to say something like, "Yeah, you like that, don't you?" I'm gonna keep.
Hey, look at that, don't you, bitch?
Oi, bruv.
Did they have the wall vagina in one of? I think it was Resurrection or 3. I've seen it before. Okay,
it might have been Resurrection. I haven't seen that one in a very long. I like relatively recently rewatched Alien 3, so it's not in that one.
Alien 3 is terrible.
Yeah. Well, Alien 3 theatrical cut is terrible. The director's cut is
I would take both. I would take either cut of it over this movie. Like, I would rather an Alien film that tried and failed to actually develop the story in a relatively new and interesting way than a film which didn't try to do that and still failed at what it was trying to do, which was be a even slightly coherent story. 3 is a significantly better movie. I haven't seen Resurrection recently enough to compare. I remember really not liking it, but I wouldn't be surprised if I thought that was a better movie. This one, it sits so perfectly in line with Prometheus and Covenant, which I think was actually a downgrade on Prometheus because it got scared of the only ideas it had. And then you get this film, which just has no ideas and no story either. So it's just a fucking like memory it's a drug for people who haven't seen a good movie in too long.
Yeah, this is what we're reduced to because of what's happening, obviously, because of the message. We're reduced to this now. It's hard to find entertainment these days. So when I went to the cinema to watch this, I had fun.
It was entertaining. I was very pleased by how stupid the movie was. It was fun.
The writer's strike has created the writer's strike because of basically the summer of 2024 being pushed back, the majority of it. I think it has created a new era of film. Like, this is the apology era.
Yeah.
And what you're going to do is receive safe films. I mean, Jesus Christ, like, we haven't had BSUP in a month, but so we missed a bunch of shit. But Dr. Doom announcement, like, get the fuck out of here. I called that like 2 fucking years ago.
Yes, you did.
Called that the whole fucking thing that happened. I need to make an "I told you so" video because I fucking told you so. Like 2 years ago.
Told you so.
And that's the era we're in, and this is kind of like Prey was like that. Speaking of that, did you like this better than Prey?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not like Prey.
Prey was I liked this more, but maybe it was because I was in a theater and actually had like a big screen. And Prey was like a more decent film all the way through. But
I liked the idea that they presented in Prey. I didn't like the execution whatsoever, and the fact that they wanted to just like kind of like retcon how a lot of native societies actually functioned and their hierarchies was a weird change. But I respect what it was trying to do. But I enjoy Romulus, just the first half of Romulus especially. I enjoy that a lot.
Prey.
I really would have loved
I don't like
Prey
either of them, really. Like, I just feel like I feel like they're both committing a lot of the same issues. So I would just put them on par with
I
each
think
other.
Prey at least like this tried to completely represent an alien movie again, whereas Prey I thought had its ideas. You know,
the message. That's what it had.
I didn't really think it was egregious in that film at all.
No,
like
really?
we have
Really?
a fucking female who
Really?
can. The ending, obviously, where like she was kicking his ass, fucking ridiculous. Yes, but like throughout the movie, like she didn't appear to be Mary Sue.
Oh yeah, so she.
That's what they needed
halfway through the movie. Do you remember that scene?
What?
She got one over the. Was it her brother or something like that? Or
a brother?
A brother, mate. A brother.
A brother.
Actually, I saw the movie a couple of years ago. What happened?
Do you remember? There's loads of scenes. There's a scene in it where she I think does she beat one of the guys? She has to fight one of the guys. Do you remember?
Yeah, because she's trying to show like that she can do what the men do instead of being defaulted to what the women do.
Remember that scene?
No, but I'm sure it exists.
I was just gonna say that's what they really needed in this movie was a magical Native American body temperature changing flowers. That's what they were missing.
I don't know.
What they wouldn't have had to they wouldn't have to wait for the room to change temperature. They just eat a flower and they're just now they have no body temperature at all, and they can't.
My body temperature is now low enough to be confused for a dead person, and somehow I'm still walking around. Okay, fair enough. I thought like Prey, like it's not an especially memorable film, and I kind of gave it a bit of a mid review. It's the last third that annoys me most about Prey, but up until the last third, it has a couple of characters in it. It takes the Predator into a place that we've not seen one before. Even the Predator has a bit of a character arc in it. It's just an altogether more thoughtful film. It does more. It's more nuanced. There's more to like about it. It's more imaginative. There are better characters. There's a better villain. It makes more sense. Like everything about Prey is better than this movie.
What is it about Predator and Alien? Like they're really leaning into the autism thing, like the Predator.
It's an allegory.
Weaponized autism.
Like Jesus Christ! And then in this, like we had a fucking droid with autism. Essentially,
we have technological autism in this one.
Yeah.
I feel like
droids have autism.
Doing movies like this, it's got to be hard for writers because you want to pay off the nostalgia as much as you can because you'll have a bunch of people like not critics like y'all, but you know, like my dad who watched Alien once back in the 70s, 80s and saw this and was like, I remember things. But you also want to do your own take on a story. But if you do your own take, you don't get the people that are there for the nostalgia. They won't enjoy it as much. But then the people that don't want the nostalgia and want a new story are not going to enjoy it as much because there's nostalgia in it. It's just like a weird, I feel like it must be really hard to try to continue a franchise like this. It's been running for so long. That's why we run it at so many member berries all the time, because how do you not? But then if you do, is that hack writing? And I don't know.
Well, no, it's not hard at all. You just got to use your common sense and basically find the balance between. That's exactly what James Cameron did when I gave him that project, Aliens. He found the middle.
Cameron, though.
No, but he's far past his.
He used common sense.
Ridley Scott is doing now, like he's just being weird now. But no, we were before you.
Ridley Scott was never good.
No, I like Ridley Scott's movies.
Ridley Scott's ass.
He did some great stuff about 40 years ago.
He did, yeah, he did.
Ridley Scott, if he was a baseball player, he'd be pretty good because he bats about 300 with his films.
Aha,
dude! I would take a director's career with like 3 bangers. Yeah, like if one of them was fucking Alien, you're good.
What's the 3 bangers for Ridley Scott? Though?
Blade Runner.
Oh, okay, Blade Runner. Alien's pretty good.
Yeah, Blade Runner had the issue of they couldn't figure out how they wanted the movie to be structured. That was the issue.
Yeah.
Like,
Gladiator?
Gladiators.
I don't really enjoy Gladiator on the rewatch though.
What about The Martian? I think The Martian's better than
actually, yeah. That I always forget that's a Ridley Scott movie because I like it.
I like that film.
That's so sick.
I forget it's Ridley Scott. I like it.
Thelma and Louise was quite good. I like that one.
I've never seen it.
It's really
a fun movie. That's a fun movie. Yeah,
I liked it. He's a good director.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Hawk Down is him too.
I always forget that one's him.
Okay, I don't mean to be like the woke bitch on this panel, but I rewatched that movie because I was like, oh, I remember this being fun. And I realized they call like the malnourished black people in that movie skinnies the whole time.
Yeah.
and they just act like weird zombie hordes. And I was like, this is odd.
Were you upset?
Odd movie.
Were you upset that they did that?
Kinda.
Well, listen, Bagface, don't watch 48 Hours, whatever you do. Don't watch that film, mate. The amount of times they say the N-word in that film, ridiculous.
Oh, no, I feel like the N-word is better than Skinnies.
Dude, you know what happens every time I call Bagface? He like tempts me.
I always say, "What's up, my N-word?" Because I won't say it on
It's like, go ahead. You can say it. You're one of the trusted ones. I'll let you say it. Then he's gonna screenshot that shit, and you're fucked.
Well, Jackie Chan almost got beaten up by saying it, didn't he? I can't remember which film it was, but yeah. So there you go.
We do have other topics to get to. We've dedicated a whole hour and 20 to Alien Romulus. Any other words on this movie before we move on to a
It's
couple other
worth
things?
seeing in cinemas. There you go.
It
has problems, but it's a really fun cinema experience.
Or for about the same amount of money, you could get 2 Big Macs and you'll be full for roughly the same amount of time.
And you'll probably shit yourself. You won't shit yourself with this.
Well, it depends on.
Just go get the popcorn bucket and just leave. That's it.
They don't sell them here.
Yeah,
They don't
Canada
sell them
didn't
here.
get them either.
No.
I saw someone putting the alien bucket into the mouth of the Wolverine bucket. With sound.
That is my new standard for movies. If there's not a popcorn bucket that you can violate, I'm not interested.
That's how they're going to get you to the theater now.
That's how they're going to get me. They're just going to be like, we're just going to have violation ability for all of our popcorn buckets going forward.
I think my last word on this is that it is fun to watch in the cinema, but the story is shit. The performances are okay. The writing's really bad, but it's still fun. I recommend it. Right, I recommend it. Actually.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the crowd went mild. Here we go. So this movie came out too.
Oh God.
No.
Aha! I know you thought you were gonna escape it because it came out 2 weeks ago. Too fucking bad. Here it is. Yeah, I saw this a couple of weeks ago. I almost did a video on it, and I hated it so much I realized that I was barely paying attention in the theater. So.
Oh my God, I remember this movie as well. Like,
yeah, basically.
Couldn't remember it, and then I got invited to a stream to discuss it, and I had to watch it again because I didn't remember it.
Oh, you poor thing. Sorry.
That's why I started keeping my notes pages for the scripts.
I haven't seen this film.
You have
most
not?
people haven't, but like basically you can transpose a lot of the criticisms of the previous one onto this one as well. Pointless franchise film, over reliant on fucking member berries, with no characters and nothing like a sensible story that probably shouldn't have been made, but was in a desperate attempt to grab cash. That's this film as well.
Not one likable character, and it is unbelievable that they can make.
No, I like
every single actor in this. Every single actor in this movie is fucking horrible. Like they are terrible in this movie, and they're not terrible outside of this movie most of the time.
Except for Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, Kevin Hart's atrocious.
I mean, I don't think we really need. I'm sure everybody here has talked about this on at least one stream. I don't think we need to go through the movie itself, but the drop off. I can't. After we talked about that backstage, I don't even know how much money this movie is going to lose. I can't even calculate it.
Yeah, that's what I was excited to talk about because of the drop off. So this film had a $110 million budget. It opened to only $8 million in North America, and it dropped 72% in its second weekend. First of all, that's horrific anyway. But I actually expected more until I realized it only opened to 8 million. Normally, when films open small, even if it's not a well-liked film, the drops are low because there just wasn't much interest anyway. So it's, if a film gets reviewed this poorly, I normally would still expect like a 50% drop, 55. If it's an $8 million opening, it dropped 72%. It only made $2 million. I also just want to mention too, they never had faith. They knew they had a fucking stinker on their hands just by the mere fact of how many theaters they released this in. There was never any hope for this. It only opened in 3,100 theaters in North America. Normally major films like this open to 4,000 plus. So that this was never going to do well anyway.
Is the drop off just domestic or international? Because I'm looking.
That's domestic.
Okay,
Yeah,
the
domestic.
international box office is just over 18.5 million.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Normally shit like this too, giant franchise IPs,
Mhm.
you will see them do far, far, far better overseas, like cumulatively, like globally. The split will be 40-60
Yes.
in favor of the global box office. Like domestic will be 40%. Like you'll see that in a lot of superhero franchises. They make the majority of the dollar figure outside of North America. The actual profit mostly comes from North America because they get the bigger cut, but the dollar sign is bigger from the global. So this only has $18 million worldwide. It had $110 million budget before fucking marketing, before anything. And it's such a bomb. It's coming out on digital in 11 days.
Wow.
Just a couple things, because like the idea for this movie or like an adaptation was talked about back in 2011. And this was like when Borderlands was arguably at its height, like as a video game. So I think already the potential audience this could have had was long gone, just because this was coming and going in and out of talks. It's burned through like a dozen writers behind the screens as well. And then when that first trailer dropped, just even if you hadn't played the games, it's just like this looked like nothing original. Everyone looks far too old for what characters they're trying to be. Everything just feels like a weird mismatch of things. And then plopping Eli Roth at the front is just kind of like the cherry on top of this is going to be garbage.
I cannot believe they gave him a movie with that budget. That's fucking crazy.
I don't get that either.
I don't know. I don't see the track record that says he's going to be good making this movie.
I think that's honestly, I think he was a last call, because like just like writers, this has burned through a lot of directors as well. So
yeah, I was never. So I went in. I expected to review it, which like I said, I fucking didn't, because I just hated this so much. I didn't even want to talk about it. But I went in as like I never played Borderlands. I was like, oh, let's just see if I like it as a movie. No, I couldn't even imagine how bad of an adaptation this was.
This is too late on top of that, because like the best game of the franchise, I think most would agree, is Borderlands 2, and it's just a lot of toilet humor, and we've kind of evolved past that in a lot of cinema. So even whatever they try to put in this, it just doesn't work, because it's jokes that are at least 10 years too old. At least.
Can I ask a question, right? So you've played the game, right, Vex?
The games, yes.
Okay, so is it like the characters in it, do they look like the characters that were in the film, or is it just like a one-man shooter thing?
So they get some of the looks down with all of these characters, even if like they're too old and stuff. Like Lilith, so Cate Blanchett's character and Jamie Lee Curtis's characters, they're far younger. Tiny Tina looks too old. Kevin Hart is a midget. Roland is just this big buff dude with a machine.
Yeah, he's like 6'3" and like in great shape. Like,
and he's a former love interest of Lilith, of Cate Blanchett's character on top of that. But it's an open world. So like most of the story building, like there's one through line narrative that of course you follow, but a lot of these characters that you're presented with, you meet all of them in side missions if you choose to do most of those. So it's very hard to try and take all of those elements, try to put them together in like a Guardians of the Galaxy-esque squad, and then give them some sort of mission to do. Like this is really just, it's masquerading as a Borderlands like IP entry. That's really all it is. But this
I'm so tired of these franchises that take the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Like, hey, we saw this work 10 years ago in a movie. Like, we should really try and jam these characters together without anything to actually make you care about them and pretend they're a family now. Like it reminds me of fucking Suicide Squad.
The
first or the second?
The first one.
Suicide Squad is the second one.
Yeah,
the second one.
I always love that nowadays all you have to do is just throw "the" into a title, and it's a sequel.
Now it's a different
movie. It's a different thing.
This shouldn't have been a movie though. This should have been a series. They could have made it work a lot easier with the series, and even people that aren't familiar with the IP, you actually would have kind of fallen in love with it, because there is some interesting storytelling in there. But a 90-minute film, you can't possibly get anything Borderlands out
Well,
of a
not
9.
to try and do the story this film tried to do. I mean, that was the other problem. I think I mentioned this on Open Bar, is that because of the way this is all structured, the actual natural starting point in the film has to be covered by Kate Blanchett in a sort of opening monologue. Like the story that if you're going to try and create a Borderlands film, and certainly like a Borderlands film franchise, if you're starting the story again, which you really have to do given how old the games are and how far removed from mass awareness they are, then actually starting the story on film with the story she tells us about after the fact would have been a very much better way to go about it. You can introduce yourself to these characters, you can introduce yourself to the world. There's quite a natural beginning, middle, and end in the story that she narrates for us. There's actually things to care about, like the fact that that film could have even ended with, you know, her mother having to abandon her in order to set up the sequel, which would then give her a character we would understand going into any sequel. But in the event, we just have to be told about all of the interesting stuff way after the fact. And in the moment, all of these characters spend, well, certainly Kate Blanchett's character, Lilith, spends 90% of the time shitting on the story that she's a part of because, you know, meta humor's fun. Presenting your characters as being too cool for the movie they're in. That's definitely a new and innovative approach we haven't seen try and fail many times. It's so well conceived, and it clearly doesn't particularly care about itself. That was sort of the overriding impression I got from watching all of this. It's just like stuff happens, they quip. Jamie Lee Curtis is exposition grandma, and she just tells you what just happened, and then she tells you some plot useful thing, and then more shit happens, more quips. The twist, which everyone saw coming right from the beginning, is that actually Lilith is the daughter of Pandora. Oh wow, big shock! And then she flies around for a bit at the end, and it's such a soulless movie that I remember playing Borderlands when it first came out. I don't think there's anything necessarily doomed about telling that story again now. The story in Borderlands was never fantastic, but it had a charm to it. It was new and innovative on the gameplay side, and you can try and find ways of sprucing up the narrative side to make it more fit for a film. But the Borderlands games used to at least take themselves seriously. They wanted to achieve something. They wanted to have fun doing it, and you know, they were clearly created by people who wanted to put them out there, whereas this was kind of, oh god, we've got to do a Borderlands movie, fuck, let's get it over with as quickly as possible, even though it's like almost 2 hours long, which doesn't feel quick at all.
The pacing is horrible in this, but like it also forgets like one of the big reasons why Borderlands came around, and it was to be to subtly mock what all the other shooters were doing. And that's why the humor worked so much, is it was satire. There's none of that in here. This really is just like a soulless cash grab. It really is.
I'm
Jamie Lee Curtis's best movie's True Lies.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree.
Which I recently covered, by the way.
Although she does look spectacular in what's that one with Eddie Murphy and
Trading Places.
Trading Places. Yep. She looks absolutely gorgeous in Trading Places.
One thing I don't understand is how, like, I would have expected this budget to be even way higher, because this was in development hell with all these reshoots and rewrites and changing of everything over and over again. I would have thought that this would have been closer to 200 million. I'm a little shocked that it was only 110.
I mean, we're not factoring in all the marketing, because
you never do. You never do when you're talking about that. But I would have expected this to be closer to that too, maybe like 170, 180, because of all the reshoots and stuff.
This might be like a Gladiator 2 situation where the budget just hasn't been officially updated, so maybe we haven't got it yet.
How did I get Kate Blanchett in something like this? Though?
Apparently,
money.
She wanted to work with Eli Roth. That was the selling.
Really?
What? Yeah.
Who the fuck says they want to work with Eli Roth?
I heard that they all wanted to. The original script writer for this, that like is now going by an alias because they were so disappointed in how the movie turned out. I think what I heard at least was that a bunch of the actors signed on because they wanted to work with whoever the writer was, and then the script changed so much, and they were all already attached that it kind of just fucked up.
I've read that as well. Yeah.
I would kiss Kate Blanchett.
Eli Roth's best movie is Knock Knock, and everyone hates that movie. But
whoa, Thanksgiving is so good, dude. What you talking about?
Thanksgiving actually was kind of goofy fun, wasn't it? Yeah, that actually wasn't.
Are you only rating Knock Knock high because
what about Monsters?
Anna de Anis topless?
Oh, she's great.
No, I love when Keanu Reeves is buried going, fuck.
That's the one with the I remember that one now.
Yeah, that's
so bad, dude. It's so bad, it's good.
Don't diss John Wick, mate.
Hey, Keanu Reeves is not winning fucking best actor, but he's one of my favorites. I love that guy.
He's winning the people's choice of just being.
Yeah,
a good person.
like talk about just rewarding good behavior.
Yeah,
you know.
He no joke. There's like a bunch of stories of people that are just like, yeah, he was on the subway and got up just gave his seat away, and it's like he doesn't have any Hollywood ego about that kind of stuff. He just chills on the subway, standing, being a person.
Please take my seat. I have no ego.
I do want to know though, because this was supposed to kick off a whole cinematic universe. So
what a surprise!
I am curious what Gearbox is going to do because they've been hemorrhaging money.
They're just going to go. They're just going to go bankrupt, and that's going to be their excuse.
I hope so.
They're just going to be like, we don't have any money. In fact, bye.
Ironically, though, this movie was so bad that people started saying, "Go play the games." And Borderlands 3, which was a massive flop, now has like peaked on concurrent players on Steam, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah,
to be fair, Fallout did that to me though, right? Like I watched Fallout and wasn't particularly impressed by the show, but I've always liked the setting, so I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go re-download Fallout 3, which I've not played in years, and I downloaded it on whatever is it Xbox, whatever the fuck the thing you have on your computer. It doesn't work, but I downloaded it, so you know.
I just love that. It's like, that whatever the kids are playing those games on nowadays. That's what I used.
Yeah.
Now that's not her real ears, is it?
No.
No. Those are attached to the visor.
Oh right, okay.
They were like, oh wow, someone's actually born that looks just like that character. We've got to hire.
Yeah.
Everyone's just too old for this movie. I don't. Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand the choices there.
So, question too. So, Kevin Hart was miscast, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
Right, like as an adaptation, I cannot imagine.
Isn't he short in the games? Right? I swear, Roland is short in the games.
He's small in the games. He's very.
He's just small. He's small compared to Brick, who is like 7 feet tall. But Roland is like around 6 foot, 6'2", somewhere in that range.
Oh, I might be thinking Borderlands 2.
Taller than Kevin Hart.
Well, yes, pretty much a foot taller than Kevin Hart.
5 foot nothing, can he?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, okay, there. Someone just said it's 6'3". I was just guessing, but yeah, Brick is supposed to be. He's essentially like Bane. He's like huge.
Yeah.
The only casting they really get right is Krieg. That's about it. Yeah.
And that's because he doesn't have any lines.
He's just supposed to be dumb meathead. That's it.
Yeah. But he essentially took Brick's place in the story. They have two of the characters that should be there, and then Krieg, who's kind of just randomly inserted in where they could have put Brick. I don't know.
Well, apparently, and you can see this allegedly in one of the shots. So, it's in the trailer where they open that hatch and you see all of them looking around. So if you look carefully, you can actually see a sixth person opening the hatch. Allegedly, that was supposed to be another character.
Yeah, someone pointed that out to me, and I never noticed it. I wasn't looking for it though, so that's probably why I didn't notice it. And yeah, I'm surprised they just completely cut out an entire character from the series, from the movie. That's amazing.
This is supposed to be R-rated, right? It was filmed to be R-rated, but for some reason released as PG-13.
Yeah, it's such a pussified version of this movie. Tom Cruise did play Reacher, and Tom Cruise is short, but Tom Cruise can actually act sometimes and can be badass.
And he's
charming. I don't know about Kevin Hart, man. Like, I don't really think of Kevin Hart as badass. I remember seeing that movie he starred in with The Rock that wasn't Jumanji or whatever, and he was
Central Intelligence.
Shit himself. Yeah. Central Intelligence. Like
Tom Cruise is enormous compared to Kevin Hart.
Okay, how tall?
I think they're the same height, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think it's like 5'3".
I think Tom Cruise is like 5'4", 5'5".
No,
he's 5'5", I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he's small.
I feel like Kevin Hart must be incredibly short, or
he's
appear that way, at least in real life, because of the fact they never fucking stop talking about it. Like that has been like, you know how Bert Kreischer takes off his shirt? Well, Kevin Hart is short. Like that's the joke. Ha.
Kevin Hart is the same height as Tom Cruise.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think what Tom Cruise always has lifts in his shoes. I think he just doesn't accept it, whereas Kevin Hart accepted it. He's like, I'm the short guy, so he just doesn't bother to do anything to cover it.
He's a comedian. He can live with himself,
Yeah, I think it's harder to be a 5'5" action star versus a 5'5" funny guy.
Yeah,
you just get a lot of really short people around you.
I think that's a part of his contracts, isn't it? That like usually his love interest is cast as
Robbie Downey
someone
Jr. is
short.
tiny as well, isn't he?
Robert Downey Jr. is like
Downey Jr.
5'7" or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Cruz is
5'8".
it says 5'7", Hart is 5'5", so they're not the same height.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. They actually had to. They put lifts in, whenever he was opposite Pepper Potts.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. I couldn't remember her name all of a sudden. He always had lifts, and she had to be barefoot to make those scenes make sense.
Well, it explains why she was barefoot in that film. Then,
and Platoon has left his own channel. He heard Gwyneth Paltrow, and he was like, "I'm fuck off."
He has just decided to install updates after I told it not to. BRB.
So we're just on his channel now. That's the best part.
Do you guys want to run it for a second? Because I just spilled my coffee all over my fucking stuff too. So I gotta clean this now.
Well, what's the next?
Okay, so the next topic.
Craven the Hunter is rated R.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about all this stuff anyway, because Kevin Feige thanked everyone for making Deadpool and Wolverine $1 billion movie, as if the last 2 years didn't happen. Go fuck yourself, Kevin. And
hold on. I would like to point out I called that shit on BSUP.
Yes,
like
I
2
will
months
give you
ago.
total fucking credit for that. He did call it. I said like 800 million. I was dead wrong.
It's okay. Platoon did us justice, Bagface. Don't worry. Don't worry. You got your cred. You got your cred.
I do find it amazing how he's just sweeping away that he pushed against this as much as he possibly could to have Deadpool be a rated R movie in the MCU. And now he's just like, yeah, it's great. Thanks for everybody going to see it. Like we're just gonna forget that he was so against this.
He's a sucker.
It's not even that. It seems to like it just kind of made it feel like it was business as usual. Like, yeah, it's the MCU where you hit $1 billion and it's the R-rated one this time. And it's like, yeah, it actually did you a huge favor because the last 2 years has essentially killed your fucking product. I don't know if you saw the results of your last MCU film where it didn't even crack 100 million domestic, but it's not really like, I don't know. I just didn't like.
I'm a little shocked it hit $1 billion as a rated R movie. That's the only thing that shocks me about it is that. But then when I went to my screening and there was a bunch of I kept saying divorced dads who were bringing their sons because it just happened to be their weekend. I was like, okay, this is gonna make $1 billion now. And
I think it's like a natural progression. So it blows my mind that the MCU doesn't do this more. It's like novels, right? Like Harry Potter. When I was reading Harry Potter when I was young, the books got more complicated and longer the older I got because she was writing with her audience that was growing. And the MCU has kind of refused to grow with its audience. Like at least me, I started watching MCU movies when I was like 16, 17. I don't really remember. I watched Blade when I was like fucking 10. But if we
MCU, I mean, we're talking to MCU specifically.
When was Iron Man? 2017.
I was no Iron
2008.
Man.
Oh, 2008.
I was a freshman in college.
2008.
When
shit.
Out.
Yeah. I was like 16, and it's weird that they've kind of regressed in their like level of adultness. I can't think of words right now. I don't know why. I just went to the gym. I'm really dead. But
they've regressed in their maturity.
Yeah, they've like regressed in their maturity as they've gone on, which doesn't make any fucking sense because most of the people who enjoy the MCU and are invested in it are above 18. So it makes a whole lot of sense to me that a rated R movie that's in the MCU would do really well because most of their fan base is above the age of 18.
Agreed.
They don't think that way though, do they?
Which makes no fucking sense.
They were trying. So I could understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to now rope in the next generation. They just did it horribly. Now, where they lucked out with this was so that the MCU hype train had come to a full stop. Like, didn't even hit the next station. This lucked out for them is that it had its own hype train of people asking for these two characters to be on screen together for real, not in the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, like a real version of both of the characters in a movie for so long that it was, like I said, the only thing that gave me cause for pause on the $1 billion mark was because of the rated R aspect. I think I predicted somewhere in the 800s as well. But once I saw kids being brought, I was like, yeah, no, this is going to blow past that. And they're not going to be able to recreate that just by making more rated R movies, by the way. It's just not going to work.
I think if they shifted their tone to target their actual audience instead of for some reason trying to target children still, it would probably help a little bit. You don't have to do like the rated R goofy shit, but if they did like a rated R Thor movie, I'd be fucking hyped. That'd be lit, but they never will.
Yeah, but now they need to. I'm not sure how much this is actually going to kickstart the MCU's other properties, because this was essentially the final stop of the Fox universe. That's really what this was. They didn't really drag much in from the actual MCU. So I don't think it's going to have a lot of residual push for those movies. They still need to get those sorted out. And it seems some of the announcements that they've made relatively recently, it doesn't seem like they've sorted it out yet.
Have they announced a rating for Thunderbolts?
No.
Yeah, it's rated shit. That's what it's
rated S for shit.
Came back just the right time.
Yeah.
I think the only future project we have a rating for is Blade, if it still happens.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way that movie is made.
Well,
I agree.
They're
insulted Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
In Deadpool and Wolverine, like that's such a ballsy move. That's how I felt like it was an insult anyway. So it's like there's no way.
I mean, even Ali's been going around, and he's just kind of done with it. Like even he's kind of implying that it's never coming out. So I hope it doesn't. I hope the project is just scrapped. This whatever is at Disney Marvel right now doesn't need to touch Blade. They'll just ruin it.
You're right.
Well, what is it? Ryan Reynolds is hardcore now pushing for a Blade 4, I guess you could call it, to finish out Wesley Snipes.
He was done though. He had a closing at the end of Blade.
Yeah,
3.
but they want a real, they want a good movie.
Basically. They want one where the movie doesn't suck.
Yeah, like
he was in a bad place when they made that film. He was in drugs and everything.
He wouldn't even open his eyes for the one.
He was evading taxes. He was
was that before or after the IRS?
Yeah,
it was
before. That's when he was
on.
making all of his money.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to switch yet.
Oh no!
Spoilers.
Too soon for that. But
sorry, I've been cleaning. My whole fucking desk smells like a coffee now. But
what's up with Craven the Hunter's chest there?
It's hot as fuck. That's what's
airbrushed as all hell, is what that is.
Yeah, it doesn't look real, does it?
Hold on.
Leftover saliva from me licking up his chest. It's just a little glistening.
Listen, if you look at actual pictures of Aaron Taylor Johnson shirtless, that is all real. That is
he is fucking huge.
Really?
I will watch anything with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, same here.
He is on fucking roids, just like everyone.
Trend. He's on trend.
Yeah, but he does roids the good way. You know,
well, he's still young. Give it another 10, 15 years so he can have that fucking plumboyism. That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
it's weird too.
Once his head's the size of a watermelon, you'll realize.
Yeah, his head and he's like 8% body fat with a giant fucking belly and abs over him, like a turtle shell. That's how you'll know he's on some HGH.
Isn't he married to someone that's older than him? Some old woman?
He is married to his groomer.
His groomer. Who's that?
We're not supposed to say that word.
Oh, sorry.
It's oh my god, Sam Taylor Johnson. They shared their last names when they got married.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is.
Is she hot?
No, she's an old woman. She's like 20-something years older than him. She did, I think the film was Nowhere Boy, and he was 16, 17 at the time when they met. And then by the time he was like 19, they got married, and she pumped out 2 of his kids. But I think the biggest movie she did was oh my god, what was that stupid romance movie that chicks liked? 50 Shades of Grey. So I don't know. They're still together, happily married though. It looks like so.
So why do people shit on fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, and this bitch just gets to skate off?
It's female privilege, dude.
What?
It's
female privilege back
then. Yeah, she wasn't even that attractive when they were younger.
No,
I think that's crazy. Because like she married him, whereas Leo dumps anyone the minute they
I can't tell which
21,
ones.
So.
Yeah,
I feel like marrying is worse.
Yeah, I can't tell which ones of these pictures are extremely made up and which ones are just terrible angles and stuff. But she wasn't attractive even when he was 17. I don't know how'd this work out.
Don't know.
It's that weird teacher syndrome.
Are we going to talk about the new Craven trailer? I can't remember if that's on the agenda.
God, I don't want to see this.
If you want, like this was kind of I just want to talk about the R-rated superhero movies coming out. So if you'd like to talk about Craven, please feel free. But no, I just wanted to mention like there are 4 remaining big superhero movies coming out, or 3 rather, because Deadpool and Wolverine's out now. But Venom 3 is coming out, which unbelievably is not R-rated, which it just really should be. And Craven is R-rated, and so is Joker, of course.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like that's backwards. Craven doesn't.
No, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the 3 biggest superhero movies of the year they're now going to be R-rated for sure. Like there's no way Joker's not going to be one of the bigger movies of the year. I think just out of curiosity, the opening and just sheer numbers of how it'll work, like even if it's horrible, the sheer volume of people that'll see it opening weekend, like even a severe drop off, it'll open so big, its number will be large by the end. So.
I don't know about the Joker film. I saw the trailer. I was just like, okay. You know what I mean? I wasn't excited about it or anything. I just thought,
I saw that a lot of people seem to be excited about it. All it did for me was reinforce that it didn't need a fucking sequel.
Yeah, that's true.
I still think it'll be an underdog hit. Just because of Lady Gaga's craziness. That's all.
Do you think that she's properly cast then, since this is kind of an alternate?
I think was it Todd Phillips has said that like none of this is canon. This is basically all his vision of it. I'm just thinking the way that
it's not canon. It's all fucked up.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking like the way Harley Quinn is and how she's been portrayed. She's the stalker ex-girlfriend kind of vibe, right? And I think Lady Gaga, her real life personality matches that really well. So that's really the only thing I'm actually kind of interested in seeing is what she brings to this movie. I agree it didn't need to be made, but I think it'll be surprisingly decent.
She's basically the personification of like Stockholm syndrome, or like so that's sort of, I guess you could say.
It's not a musical, is it?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Well, it says that he said it has musical elements, but it's not a full musical.
Okay.
I think it works really well, actually. I was a little nervous when I heard that, and then I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, they're going insane together and they have like musical moments of insanity. I think
makes sense.
Yeah, it plays better than I thought it would, and having Lady Gaga in that role when it's somewhat musical also makes sense. She's not my favorite actress, but I haven't seen A Star Is Born, so apparently I can't say anything about it.
I'm not a fan of the original Joker movie, so I'm really not looking forward to this.
I always thought it was a little overrated too.
Yeah, I've had a roller coaster kind of ride with that, because when I initially saw the movie, I saw it with a group of friends, and we were really like, I gave it quite a pass. And then when I rewatched it, like a lot of things that kind of stuck out to me the first time were just more emphasized, and the stuff that I was excited about because I was with my friends were like de-emphasized. And I honestly feel I appreciate what they were doing with the character. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but honestly, all of the dialogue was so on the nose, and it's just like, it's really fucking grating to have someone who's like struggling in life just tell you they're struggling in life. Like I hated his fucking exposition. Like I just do not understand how someone can watch this movie and listen to the dialogue and just think it's like fucking a masterpiece. Because
you know what it is it's
like to have someone actually just be there and say like, you just walk over me on the street if you saw me because I'm trash. Like that's not good writing. It's bad.
You should have did that as a Cockney British guy. That would have been even better.
Somebody get the water.
On the street, wouldn't even give me a bowl of water. I'm fucking parched.
You know how we've kind of like leaned into that part of the social sphere where it's like cool to make mental illness your identity.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, what Joker felt it was doing. It was romanticizing like real mental health issues. That said, I thought the performances were really great, and that kind of carried through the movie.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably where the hype lies more than anything. But yeah, I agree with you. Otherwise, it seems a little overhyped. It romanticizes mental illness. It's kind of.
I just always thought that it felt. To me, it wasn't necessarily the movie. I just always felt like it didn't need to be a Joker movie. Like it would have been fine on its own as just a movie that had nothing to do with Joker. That was always my kind of issue with it.
You know what made me sad though? I think his performance was absolutely brilliant as the Joker, and I just keep thinking to myself, why wasn't this guy
in the real Batman films? Why wouldn't you got just why was he just why didn't they not cast him as the Joker in the Batman movie? Because he was so good, and also he lost a lot of weight for to play the Joker as well, which shows dedication, I guess. Yeah, yeah. But I agree though, it wasn't that
movies
good.
like where I try to meet them where they're at, and like
yeah,
what are you telling me I'm getting, and am I getting it? So like I don't like. There's a reason why I didn't like Godzilla X Kong, because there was a better version of that movie. It wasn't like, it is fucking stupid. It's a bad movie, and like that's normally like the excuse for it, right? Well, it's intentional. Yeah, but there's a better version of that elsewhere. It was called Godzilla versus Kong. I like that one better. And with the Joker, I've seen a better version of this. It was called Taxi Driver.
Yeah, it was a bit Taxi Driver-ish, wasn't it?
It feels like it was written, and then it's like one of those movies that was written, and they were like, if we attach an IP to this movie, it will get approved by someone. And they were like, oh, this is kind of like the Joker.
Yeah.
Like retroactively fit it to the Joker. That's almost what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
But also, whoever said that nerds are going to give it a pass because cinematography is a big part of movies. You guys.
Yeah, it is a visual medium.
Okay? It's a visual medium. That shit's not easy to do. Go grab a camera and try to light yourself. Fucking impossible. It's so hard.
Yeah. But
I've been trying to do it for 2 years. I still don't have the lighting right in this room.
Right?
But we do have a few more topics to get through. The next one, unless anyone has anything to say left about these three. Okay. I did bring the spoiler out a minute ago. I wanted to bring up.
Before we jump onto this, it was relatively late breaking news. The Acolyte has officially been cancelled.
Yeah,
no. I want more of it. I have a whole formula for that shit.
I'm assuming neither Platoon, and I know Cynic didn't edit the videos that they did for the Acolyte.
I edited one.
That shit is torture.
Edit
that
like
was
70% of all my videos. Yes, it was torture. I was smoking again by the time I finished that series, and I'm in a bad mood now because I had to quit again over the weekend. The Acolyte is oh my god. But hashtag renew the Acolyte.
I tried to watch it so that I could get context for better editing, and I made it to like episode 5, and I was like, no.
Man, you put in the work, huh?
We need to pull a Morbius with this. We need to get them to think that it needs to come back. It's mandatory.
We could sync Star Wars.
I finally found the thing that people want me to do, and you take it away from me.
There have been so many wonderfully horrible shows, and The Acolyte is one, and so is Rings of Power. And I wanted to bring this up because it is debuting again, or soon, I guess. The second season's debuting soon, and it's actually going to come out with the first 3 episodes as the premiere.
Yeah, I saw this today, and it was, oh god, it was one of those sort of moments when you feel your heart just sink. Because I was thinking, this time I'll be right on top of these videos. I will get it done episodically. I'll stay on top of everything. And then it says, no, you're going to have 3 to do in the first week before episode 4 comes out. It's like, why? Why are you dropping almost half of your entire run in your opening weekend? Why not just do it in 2 halves if that's what you're doing? Or fuck it, just binge watch. Just do the whole thing in one go. It'll be fine. Why have 3 episodes? You're just trying to piss off reviewers at this point. And
this is why I think they're doing it.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
I think they're doing it to get ahead of the streaming curve. So like, I kind of realized that with the Acolyte, they released episode 1 and 2. And then when it's like for media marketing, X amount of hours or X amount of minutes was watched, blah, 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 blah. They don't divvy up the fact that those are between multiple episodes. So like when episode 1 through 3 debuts, they can say, look how many fucking minutes were watched or hours, or however they want to present
That's why they do it.
Yeah. And it's going to be a combined, of all 3 initial episodes. I think it's just part of the marketing thing. I also think it's part of like, maybe the first 2 episodes aren't very fucking exciting at all. And they even note it. And so they'll, skip ahead through 1 through 3.
They released the trailers as well. And like my suspicion is that most of the footage for those trailers is coming from at most a couple of episodes, because it's all fight scenes, but they all look like quite similar fight scenes from what I remember seeing. So I wouldn't be surprised if the trailer is just all the most exciting parts of like the only exciting episode, and the rest of it is when they do what they did in season 1, which is attempt to sort of do a discount Game of Thrones, which really fails because they can't write for shit. They have no idea what they're doing. I still have to finish season 1, which I'm doing at the moment, which is way more fun to do than the Acolyte because it means I get to go really hyper nerdy with Tolkien stuff. But I have to go from that and then straight into this, and it's going to be like, there's going to be dozens of hours of Rings of Power content I've got to do over the next few months.
According to Dave Cullen, they're releasing season 1 on I can't remember what channel for free, so that you can watch season 1 and then watch this season. Apparently, I can't remember what channel they're releasing it on for free. But
is Agatha come out the same time over in the UK?
How did you go from Rings of Power to Agatha?
Dude, we are going to be so fucking busy in September. It's going to be crazy.
September is one of those ones like I'm not covering it unless there's something really worth covering. I don't care. It's not interesting unless it turns out to be either really good or really bad. I'm leaving it.
I'm an MCU guy. I will cover Agatha.
Can I ask a question that might kill Platoon? And it's going to get me roasted for sure. If this show wasn't attached to Lord of the Rings at all, would it just be like meh? Like, would it be less offensively terrible if it wasn't attached?
It would be less offensively terrible because it wouldn't be, as the writers themselves claim to be doing, telling a story and Tolkien never could, which is not going to get people on side. But like, there are two angles to the Rings of Power thing. And I'm trying to do both, which is why the videos end up being so long, which is that you have all the lore stuff, which is really interesting, but that's how I keep myself sane because it's an excuse to go and talk about the really good bits. But then you have the show on its own terms, and the show on its own terms is just as bad, whatever the relationship with the lore happens to be. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. In no fantasy show of any kind, whether it's attached to Tolkien or not, is like a random sword key found in a basement, which then you use to turn on a fucking volcano. Like, what? No. That's nothing to do with it all. Cool. That's just, it doesn't even look cool. It looks silly.
This is like my worst take ever. When I watched Rings of Power, I was like, this is fine. Like, if I think about not Lord of the Rings and I just watch it, I'm like, there's some cool like technical shit in the show. The performances are fucking terrible.
They were pretty bad.
It looks okay. And I don't know.
It was a good enough reason to watch it. I feel like that.
It's definitely not good enough.
Show, and then so if you look under the hood of a boring show and you're a fan of the source material, that's when you really find out how much of a piece of shit it is.
So a boring show might cost $100 million, not $1 billion. There's also that, and then
I keep forgetting that thing had $1 billion budget. That's fucking crazy.
You look at it and you think, well, okay. I mean, I can see where some of the money's gone, but I can't see where most of it's gone. I think most of it did, rights which they didn't even buy the relevant parts of because you've got the appendices and that's it. And even then, like, it's their decision. We're going to condense 2,000 years into the span of like a single human life, which really doesn't work at all because you are then cramming things in that you can't really use properly anyway, and you have no understanding of what connects them. It's just. Ugh.
Oh God!
I've been watching Love Island, so my brain is now mush. So sorry, guys.
I've been watching wrestling for the past year.
Love Island.
There's storytelling in wrestling than there is in.
I wanted to make a video at some point about like the storytelling in wrestling is so much fucking better than the majority of shit that's been put out in theaters the last 2 years. It's pretty incredible.
At no point in wrestling do you go you meet a queen. And you say, give me an army because I went to your library and off screen I found a symbol that tells me this hobo I turned up with is actually the king of Mordor. Please give me an army so we can go fight for him. Then she says no and sends you away. But then she sees some blossom fall from a tree and then she changes her mind and says, you know what? Not only can you have an army, but I'm going with you. And then she goes there and someone turns a volcano on with a key and then she gets blinded. And then she goes back all the way home again, only to come back in season 2. Meanwhile, like the most important woman character isn't coming back in season 2 because she couldn't be fucked. So that's going to be fun. I'm kind of interested to see how they take it forward, but only in the sort of observing a car crash kind of way.
Do you think there's any chance that they listened to the criticism from the first season and they adjusted? No,
their response was, you know what, this needs more females in the director's chair. That was their answer to the problem. Like their early sales pitch for season 2, more female directors.
There's never been a female in Lord of the Rings. The problem. They
have, but they've been kept to a properly minimal role, which is where they belong.
Oh, like the most badass woman moment I feel like in any kind of movie of this magnitude is the one in Lord of the Rings where she kills the Witch King. She kills the Witch King, right?
Return of the
I
King.
am
Fucking so
Absolutely.
sweet.
Totally
That's
agree
so
with that.
dope. Forever. Yeah, no. I'm not a huge Tolkien fan, but I've watched like every year I watch Lord of the Rings like multiple times, and only the extended versions because I'm kind of trying to be nerdy, but I don't know. This is just it's like something you'd watch on the Sci-Fi Channel. You'd like put it on and be like,
I feel like
this looks like
Borderlands
shit.
is that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, like that's actually the criticism my girlfriend had. Like we saw Borderlands together, and she's like, this sounds like something I'd wake up when we were in high school, like on the Sci-Fi Channel at 3 a.m.
Question: the chick that plays Galadriel, Morfred
Clark.
Thank you.
Morfred face.
Okay, does she actually act very well? Because like I've seen her in stuff outside of Rings of Power because I haven't watched this. I don't care, and she's actually a very solid actress.
I can believe that, but the character she's been given is just 100% pure, unfiltered bitch in Rings of Power. Okay. So like she can't actually. She does nothing to work with. I can believe she's actually quite talented, but if your character's default setting is turn up, demand things, get angry when they're not given to you, then what do you can't really do very much. And then they turn her into a villain by the end. She's like, she captures, what's his name? Adar, who's like the person they got because they needed a villain who wasn't Sauron because they thought we'd all be really, really interested in who Sauron really was, and we all knew. And then she captures him and is like, I'm going to torture all of your orcs until you give me what I want. And he's like, he just treats them as his children. So like Galadriel, the hero, is way eviler than the actual villain of the show, which is fantastic.
Sorry, I'm like going through chat. I can't respond to you. I'm going through chat. I'm busy over here. I see everyone needs to go soon. So we probably ought to get to super chats.
You know what it was? It was just as soon as you broke out the Rings of Power, we were like, nah, we got too much ahead of us with this shit. So we don't want to talk about it now. I'm just glad that my format goes 3-3-2. So I get to just jump right into all three of those right off the bat.
Did you want to discuss that the Acolyte just got canceled? Breaking news?
No.
Okay.
I'm sad.
That's good news, isn't it?
That was
it's terrible news. It's that is money. That's money right there. Not for everybody but Disney. It's money.
I think most of us got more views collectively than the Acolyte did, which is probably why it's got cancelled.
I think that's actually true.
So isn't it sad then that it's gone? Because now you're missing out on some views.
No, because I think the Acolyte's going to have the same thing with like Velma. Like everyone cared, and then once the second season drops, everyone's like,
I don't know. I think there was just something about Acolyte and everything that was around it with Headland and all that. I think it could have. I think one more season could have had some momentum of hate, so to say. I think 3 would have been pushing it.
I do like that it's now canonically left off that Darth Plagueis is a homeless guy living in a cave. And like that's where he is now forever because they aren't going to continue his story. So
has anybody seen the like meme picture where it's Amanda Stenberg like waking up next to Darth Teeth and looking over, and it's Darth Plagueis opening the refrigerator? It's one of the greatest meme pictures I've ever seen.
I hadn't seen that.
I'll send it to you later. I'll see if I can pull it up real quick while we're doing the supers. Hold on.
I did have a few topics I wanted to just touch on before we get right to supers. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
I was just gonna say, do you think they ever let Star Wars die or sell it? I feel like it's costing them money.
Yeah, sell it. I would imagine before they let it die.
Sell it.
Would you guys be happy with a reboot?
I mean,
does anyone want a remake of Star Wars?
No.
But just to like clean the slate of the terrible canon because it's bad. It's very bad.
If they too late to correct everything that started when Disney took over, then yes. If they try and reboot everything that happened beforehand, which I could see them trying to do in a desperation move, then absolutely not.
Don't they still make a ton of money though off of the merch right now?
What merch?
No, they're
no.
I could tell you that the at least the action figure market, which used to be huge for Star Wars. I mean, people would line up around like a day, 2-3 days ahead of time on Force Friday to get these things. They just sit on shelves now because it's all the new. There's maybe one they call them series, every series that comes out, there's a fan vote one that Hasbro kind of gets control of, and they get to like Disney doesn't have a full say. It's so sometimes it'll be like Darth Revan. Those ones go off the shelves, and the rest will just sit there. They've killed their merch market.
Okay,
yeah,
no,
I've
I was
watched
just
a
thinking.
few videos of like store owners showing their massive fucking collection of shit from Star Wars. They absolutely cannot sell at all. It just piles up and piles up.
Okay, because I was just thinking, like, every time my husband and I go down to the Universal area in Florida, just the Star Wars shops or whatever, or sections, and like the Disney stores, they're always packed. So, okay. Just
Packed with
not
people or
correlated.
packed with toys not being sold?
Packed with people looking and buying the Star Wars stuff. Like, there's always
It'll
people
probably be
walking
the
around.
older stuff, right? I mean, that would be my assumption, is that
That
the
makes
older
sense.
merch still sells reasonably well. But like, who even knows who Vanestra Rowe is? Does anyone here know who Vanestra Rowe is?
She was in a really shitty comic. That was basically what it was.
Yeah.
It was the High Republic comic. It was terrible. But here's the thing: is you're kind of getting a selection bias when you're in Disney, when you're actually in that particular park.
Well, it's like in the shopping area, right? So like, there's Disney.
Yeah, but you're still
getting
getting a selection bias. Now that's not reflective of the rest of the world, which they're sitting on shelves. Yes, they are probably making a profit in those stores at that section, but then you go out to other places and they just sit there, so they make a net loss. They take a net loss on it.
Okay.
What was the other stuff? Oh yeah, The Crow.
I have nothing to say.
Nope.
This movie's gonna suck.
Yep.
You think?
That's what I have to say about this fucking thing. It got worse the more trailers came out.
I agree. I remember
it really did.
a couple months ago when we first came out, I was like, oh, maybe it'll be all right.
Yeah, maybe. I remember.
The more trailers I see, and I rewatched The Crow and I read the comic book now, and I'm just like, oh no, this isn't gonna be good at all.
Yeah, I have a special connection to The Crow because like Caliber Comics was the one that released The Crow originally in the 80s, and that's who signed me when I got my comic published. And like I loved that movie in the 90s, and I was I'm gonna finish it after the stream, but I had started it again so that I could be prepped for MMM. It's still a pretty good movie. There's a lot of shittiness, honestly.
It hasn't aged well.
It hasn't aged great. It's like a 90s movie through and through, but there's still a lot to like about it. And I don't think this remake can even hit any of those marks.
He looks like the Joker, though. He looks like the Joker from that stupid
Suicide Squad Joker.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Why have they dressed him like that?
It's to make him more relatable, basically.
Why?
Like,
To who?
A mullet.
I mean, that's how I dress on weekends. So you know.
Why is the face on his chest? Who decided to make one of the eyes his nipple?
His nipple.
It makes me want to fucking die, dude. What?
It's pretty well.
He's got a great body too. You didn't need to put tattoos all over.
He's
that.
such a good actor too. How did this happen?
Great actor. You don't
Money.
Look at Brandon Lee. He is not covered in tattoos, and he's still. That was something in the original film that you absolutely did not need to overemphasize at all. I got it. It's fucking gothic. He's got it in that nature. It's cool. I don't need the bullshit. Like all he's missing is the damage tattoo on his head. Like to really drive it home. Yeah.
Oh no, he's got a forehead tattoo. I don't think you can see it as clearly.
Right.
Here,
Yeah, it's above the eye. It's one of those weird eyebrow ones.
I was looking at the production history of this remake out of curiosity. They've been trying to make another Crow movie since 2008. This is just the bottom of the barrel. Like finally, after going through about a dozen different actors for The Crow, a dozen different directors to lead it, and even more writers, finally they were just like, screw it. We're going to go with Rupert Sanders, the guy that did Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah.
And Bill Skarsgård wants the role, I guess.
Well, because the Crow's a great fucking character and there's a legacy to it. So I can understand.
I agree. I just, and it's a shame because, Bill Skarsgård's a phenomenal actor.
He's a phenomenal actor. Yep.
I think he'll give a good performance, but just the more trailers that come out, why the fuck is a mop head Shelley? That's the other question I have. Like, that's one of the ugliest women you could pick ever to cast as Shelley.
Well, it's the thing, isn't it, with Hollywood? You know, they don't want to give us beautiful women. They want to give us.
It's not that hard.
Here
though.
comes the standard Mega Geek complaint.
No, but look,
There's no hot
I must
girls in
push back
movies
on this.
anymore.
I must push back on this. I've
I
got
used to
push
tug
back
my
on
shit
this.
right in the theater, but now I can't do that anymore.
There's something in the water. I must push back on this.
Something in the water with these women, man.
Look.
Wait, aren't you in the
men
UK?
Go to the cinema.
You should be used to ugly bitches all over the place.
We go to the cinema to watch beautiful people. That's how it's always been with Hollywood. Why did I want to change this? It's ridiculous.
Backface is like that's why they went around to conquer the world for spices and better looking women. That's the only reason why they did it.
Yup.
It's an odd choice because like Shelley in the comics, like she's just kind of like this picturesque angelic beauty, and they try to do that in the 1994 film. And it's like it acts as a really good contrast to how dark and gritty and depressing the story is otherwise. So to bring Shelley down to that level, actually below that level, it's just why? You could have picked a hot black girl to be Shelley.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say this too. This one is not gonna get the artificial bump of our main actor died filming this, which is one of the reasons why the original Crow is held in such lore and esteem and whatever term you want to attach to it. That's not going to happen with this one. It's not going to have that little everyone's like, oh, I got to see his last performance. Not going to be there.
Do you think it makes more money than Borderlands?
Yes.
Okay. I do not think it's possible to make less money than Borderlands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it an R-rated film, this one?
It is, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's enough Crow fans out there that will still just go and watch this out of curiosity. Bill Skarsgård has a following too, so
he does. But you have to remember, like these movies were never super popular. Like they were not massive box office successes. This was a sleeper hit in 1995 when it came out. It made like 50 million. That's pretty great for the 90s. It would be $100 million movie today.
Yeah, but you have to understand it wasn't only in those days. It wasn't only theater. It was the VHS market as well. So they were banking on they were banking on the VHS market for these films, and it did. It pulled in a lot of money on that market. The Crow on VHS.
They had a whole different schedule of the way they did it. There was secondary market release for films into smaller theaters and stuff. There was a much different way of doing it than it is now. Now it's try to get it in a theater, out as quick as possible onto a streaming service.
Yes.
The budget's only 50 million.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
I think it's going to
it'll probably be profitable.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be profitable. It's just going to be very forgettable. People are going to.
It's okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I was going to transition to the last slide before we get to supers, because it'll be quick. Bill Skarsgård will be in the same boat as this poor guy.
Oh, God.
Great performance and a fucking horrible piece of shit. Because
you know what?
Oh, my God. Trap was a terrible fucking movie.
At least Bill, he's got Nosferatu to bring him back up at the end of the year. So.
Yeah,
Josh Hartnett never really did anything good, though. He was just
in Halloween H2O, baby.
He did not Seven Psychopaths.
He was in Sin City. Come on.
Sin City's pretty good.
Sin City, mate.
I need Platoon to do an American accent.
He was.
That was the best when you do a Southern one.
Platoon can't do it.
I am far too sober for that. No.
Thank you. Bonesaw is right. He was in Lucky Number 11, which was a good
was,
one.
That fucking movie rips.
Yeah, he was in Penny Dreadful, which was also a pretty good series.
The Faculty. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Oh yeah, Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's in that movie.
Yes, he was one of the teachers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that movie in like forever, but if I recall correctly, wasn't the T-1000 Robert?
Yes, he was the teacher,
and Frodo was in that movie too.
He was.
He was. Yeah. That was one of those movies that I saw years ago, and I just vaguely remember.
It's a good movie. I thought
he had a good career. He just he got married and he had kids, and that's why he dropped out for a while. And he said,
and then exactly. Maybe this is like a real life story. And he became a real serial killer, but unfortunately, he was directed by M. Night, so it's shit.
Is it that bad then, guys?
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. M. Night Shyamalan sticks his daughter in this movie, and it's really just to kind of promote. He's like, "Oh, I got an interesting concept. How can I sell my daughter's shitty fucking music career? Oh, I got an idea. I'll make the entire movie kind of basically about her, and she's the hero instead of
How
the
does
daughter.
he keep getting funding? That's what
He
fucks
funds
me.
it
No,
himself.
he funds it himself.
Yeah,
He
but
funds it
from
himself.
what? His movies
Well,
don't fucking make money. Where
no,
does
they
he?
do. They
Do
do. They
That's
do.
crazy to me.
Because he doesn't go through the Hollywood system. So the
Yeah.
last film he made was the one on the beach where people was
Old.
getting old. It was old. That
It was
made a lot
literally
of money.
old. That was the best name.
It was
for
called
the movie.
Old.
It's old.
The
He made
Village,
money out
The
of that.
Happening.
And then with that money he made this film. So he's doing it outside the box. He
did a movie
I
in
will
between
say
that
this:
too.
M. Night Shyamalan doesn't try to trick you with what his movie is about. He tells you right up front what the hell's going on.
Well,
So
he
at least I'll give him that.
He tried to trick us with this one. So, like, the premise for anyone who hasn't seen it is so basically the FBI and whatever, they set up this concert to try and track a serial killer, which is Josh Hartnett, who's butchered a bunch of people.
It's ass.
And they find a receipt basically at one of the places where a body was or something, and that's how they know that he's going to be at his concert. But then because it's M. Night Shyamalan and he needs to put a magic reveal, the reveal is actually that Josh Hartnett's wife gave his name to the FBI, but they still set up this multi-million-dollar operation.
Just to waste your taxpayer money, and the movie's ass.
And it makes no sense whatsoever. Josh Hartnett, he gives a great performance, but it's just not a saving grace for how dumb the movie is. Also,
at least some people got to see a concert with our taxpayer money. That's all I have to say.
Two-
Most of the time, it goes to nothing.
you just have to watch the trailers and then the last 30 minutes of the film to watch Trap. You don't have to sit through the full 90 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I would implore you not to. Don't waste your fucking time.
Yeah, all the concert stuff is in the trailers, and it doesn't get much deeper than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go in the water than go and see that film.
In the bin. Okay, let's get the supers because I know we all have to be somewhere. Actually, I get another stream to be on with
Have to be
Beck
in
soon.
my
I got a
bed.
movie to finish. So let's go right to Aurora Uplinks, who's a member. Here's to hoping the Mando movie has great popcorn buckets. Yes, just like some.
Is there a
Deadpool
Mandalorian movie coming?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Fucking
No one's
terrible.
gonna watch that.
who's going to be in it?
It's got to be a Kate Sackhoff face. that you
Mando
just-
Grogu. I think it's called Mando
Grogu's
and
gonna be
Grogu.
in it.
Right, Kate-
Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah.
Kate Sackhoff bucket that you could just put directly over your face. That's what it's got to be. There we go.
TGV Monster for $2. Thanks. Hey, Platoon, Cynic, Vex, Geek, and Dark Hour. Hello to you.
Hi.
I'll just fuck
Hello.
myself then. It's fine.
You weren't on the stream.
You
at
were
that point.
on
I
stream.
know.
Backface.
TGV Monster again for a second try with $5. The range of powder is nearly upon the rangs of
range.
powder. The rangs of power is nearly upon us. One wig to rule them all, and one wig to find them all.
Can you do the next one in one of your Cockney accents, please?
Yeah. Hi, Fang, remember? Wait, I'm going Australian. Sorry.
Yeah,
I need it written out
Australian.
I need it written out for me. God, I don't know if I can. The pressure now. Hang on. Let me just read this one normal. The "we found the Nostromo" angle is almost enough to lose me from the jump. It at least undermines my interest in seeing the movie, knowing they're doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bonesaw is ready. Who has the best name in the chat for $5?
Bonesaw is ready.
Thank you very much. The biggest sin of this movie is that it isn't even scary. They have to resort to Five Nights at Freddy's antics by the end.
Yeah.
I did not see Five Nights at
Nor
Freddy's.
did I.
It
I
was
did.
terrible. Don't even bother.
Is it
Don't
terrible?
do it. Don't
Yeah.
do it, man.
It
It's
was
the
better
worst
than Romulus,
experience.
but it's otherwise it's yeah.
Okay, hold on. Borderlands was better than Five Nights at Freddy's. Let's be honest.
Don't go Australian unless you're willing to talentlessly break dance. Noted.
That's a
Ray
callback
Gun
from the
is present in
Olympics.
chat. TGB Monster again for $5. Wayland, should we reclaim that space station we're conducting illegal stuff on? Also, Wayland, nah, it's fine. We need to rip off our miners. Plot holes among plot holes.
True.
Plot holes within plot holes.
Beard for $5, and it looks like you got a fucking manly beard. Sorry, I am like 14 minutes behind, but Mega Geek is dead wrong about the characters of Alien and the Thing not really having character. Watch them again.
Okay. All right. I'll watch
You don't
them
need to
again.
make it sound like a chore. You're being asked to rewatch Alien and the
something
Thing.
good.
Those are good,
I
enjoyable
gotta
things
go
to watch.
rewatch two
I
of the
have to watch
greatest
them
movies
again.
ever
I'll
made.
go watch the fucking
Gotta
good
watch a
movie.
good movie again.
I do like the Thing there.
Yes.
This was the one
Bonesaw
I was
is.
talking about before.
Oh yeah. Bonesaw is ready for another 5. Thank you very much. Also, why did the love child of Machine Gun Kelly and Dirk Nowitzki have to show up in the 3rd act? Goddamn, that Dirk Nowitzki reference really does hit home. That's a pretty good one.
Who is that?
Dirk
So
Nowitzki
he's a German basketball player, but he came over to the NBA here in America and basically became a fucking like one of the greatest of all time.
legend. But
Absolute legend.
But the way that the alien stands at the end is
It is kind of Dirk like.
It has a very Dirk like the
Yeah.
way he would stand like that.
Dirk is like this 10-foot tall fucking white dude that weighs like 100 pounds. You know?
And he just had this weird like way he would like look when he was looking down, it like arced his spine. Whenever he was doing an interview, it arced his spine back in a weird way. It was very
hilarious and deep observation. The Cat Lord for 50 fucking bucks.
Wow.
Damn. Thank you. In the original Alien, the crew weren't aware that Ash was an android until they killed him. But in Romulus, by including Ash again, well, it wasn't Ash. It was like, you know,
It was a hook.
they're implying this was a commonly used model. Small plot hole. I mean, there are a lot
that
of
makes
gaping
sense.
ones.
Yeah.
It can be. It can also be like hand waved away that they are science units that were on specific vessels that only specific people would see.
That would be,
I mentioned,
yeah.
I mentioned that it's lore canon. Rook is in the extended lore.
Yeah. I mean, they might not be as common as just everybody can see them kind of thing.
That is the line in the original Alien as well, isn't it? When Ripley's asking whether the captain trusts Ash and like why Ash is on the ship. He says that, you know, he was transferred on basically the week before they left.
Yeah.
So yeah, rare but used. I think it just, I mean, that's not one of my biggest problems with Romulus.
It's true.
Yeah, thanks. $50 donation. Much appreciated. Absolutely ready for 2 fake dollars. But we'll accept it all the same. Andy Droid, high level script writing right there.
Hey.
Andy, Android. As in,
Android.
yeah, Andy comes from Android.
Mega Spidey Man for 2 more fake dollars. What are your favorite Lord of the Rings characters and why are those?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I'm not a hardcore fan either, but I do like the treants in the 2nd and 3rd films a lot. They're fun.
Gollum.
I love Gollum because I can do the impression.
Oh,
Well, Gollum's
please.
a very deep character too. So.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Please
he's
give us,
like the
give
deepest
us the
character.
Gollum impression.
Do this one in Gollum. There you go.
No, do it in an English accent.
Despite some of its flaws, I love Alien Romulus. What I hate is fan moments. Like, Get Away
What?
from Shore would have been an okay throwback. And they just had to add you bitch at the end. Wow.
That was
Really?
like
Do
half
it in an
Gollum.
English accent.
That was half Gollum, half Meatwad from Aqua
It
Teen
was a
Hunger
little
Force.
meatwaddy.
I shouldn't have vaped when you started doing that impression. It's gone down all the wrong holes.
Oh,
I did have some highlighted ones for people that people said for me to say. Oi, governor, some more swill for you. Oi, she's a canary, isn't it? Does that sound about right?
Close enough.
Close enough? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think my British accent's closer to, I know it's wrong, but I think it's closer to a British accent than yours is to like an American one.
Oh, almost certainly, yes.
Not very good at an American accent.
True Pop Culture 7 for $1.99. The Prego lady wore a Mary necklace, Alien Jesus. Did she really?
I didn't notice
know.
that.
I didn't
Yeah.
notice that.
No.
Why is she having all this premarital sex then? It's
Only
implied
eight.
that she's a
Yeah, what's
whore.
she up to?
Because sex is sweet. What are you talking about?
She's rebelling. That's why she fucked some asshole that impregnated her.
I thought it was the guy. I thought it was the the lead guy. I thought it was
Yeah,
him
I did too. That's why I
Trooper,
thought we
yeah.
were gonna have a descent moment where like
That was her brother.
because I thought like there was a little bit of a thing between the main
Mm.
character Rain there and him,
Yeah.
and I was like maybe he got hurt. We're gonna have like a character conflict. Oh my god! And I was like, nah,
Mm.
no, we're actually not. Drake Timbershaft for $2. Yeah, it's done it.
It hurts.
Nice screening.
Hurts, don't it?
It's down it. Tay for $5. Thank you. BSUP is back. Missed you all. How's everyone holding up? P.S. If you could rewrite any movie or show, what would it be? Mine's Thor Ragnarok. Huh. Thor Ragnarok.
The Last Jedi.
Same here.
Do you think if you rewrote The Force Awakens, though, that would lead like
Oh.
the trajectory itself would be better? Like
I don't know,
would
because
be
then they
better?
might still give. I might rewrite Force Awakens, but then they might give the next one to Ryan Johnson again. So who knows? But I'd rather just remove like the one he did, because like at least with the Force Awakens there are open questions as opposed to questions answered terribly.
Mm.
The last Harry Potter movie. That's it.
Oh
That shit's
yeah.
I think
fucking garbage.
I think I'd rewrite Furiosa. I did not like Furiosa at all.
I'd rewrite RoboCop 3. It was a good movie
Alien
in there
Romulus
somewhere.
for me. The last Alien film I'd rewrite, definitely.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Absolutely ready. Absolutely ready for $2.
That's
Zeno.
very Australian.
Yeah, that's
I know.
Australian now.
I don't know why I go there so often. A Zeno. God, I don't want to read it that way.
Hey,
A Zeno, what, bruv? You having a draft, mate?
That's meant to be laugh, isn't it? Craft or I don't
Having
know
a
what
draft.
that means.
Yeah, having a giraffe is Cockney rhyming
Oh,
time for laugh.
giraffe,
Having a
of
laugh.
course, yes. Yeah.
Campbell Patterson for an ass $5. Hey guys, I recently celebrated my 21st birthday. Happy
Happy
birthday. Am I able to get a shout out from you guys? You just did.
Yes,
Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Campbell.
Happy birthday.
Patterson.
I'm
It
not
is
going to
all
do it. I'm not
downhill
going to
from
do it
here.
only because I want to be different. I'm not going to do it.
It gets worse from here, yeah.
No, it
No.
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It can get better. It can get better. You're about to enter the peak of your life and then a very sharp decline once you hit 30.
Now where to get worse.
My life got better in my 30s. What the fuck are you talking about?
So many issues happened after I hit 30. I would rather be in my 20s again.
Yeah, weren't we all? Jeez.
God no. 20s were the fucking worst.
Yeah, 20s
You?
were ass. 30s are the shit.
That's because you
Yeah,
wore a
you
bag
guys
on your
are
face,
big.
bag face.
It got a lot better when I took the bag off. You're right.
That one Ginger Draven for $9.99. Thank you very much. Why do people need things to be made into live action? I thought if they made a Borderlands movie, it was a no-brainer to make it animated, since the game's art style was so unique, iconic, and well done.
Yeah, that's a point.
It would have
It's a-
actually been a lot more fun if it were animated too, because all the action would come off a lot cooler instead of like a geriatric woman, which it was. So
I
can't wait
find
to
it
see that
amusing.
Terminator animation thing that's coming out. Can't wait to see that. That looks really
Is
good.
that, is that
does
what
look
James
good.
Cameron's involved in, by the way?
Yes.
That's-
yeah.
yeah. I
Timothy
do find it.
Olyphant is Terminator too.
What?
Yeah,
That actually interests me. I didn't know.
I
that.
know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It does. What interests me too about like the live action thing is that most of the time they're 99% fucking CGI, so they're basically animated anyway.
Mhm.
Like I didn't see the Lion King live action movie because I was just like, it's just a fucking animated movie. Like what's live about it? Like the main characters are fucking literal CGI creatures. Oh
It didn't work.
no. Echoes of the Ancients for $10. Jamie Lee Curtis was fantastic in A Fish Called Wanda.
She was. It was a good film as well.
Princess Fiona, for some reason, is a member. I didn't know that you weren't. You're like a fucking admin.
She's everywhere. princess.
Sometimes people they forget to click that they're to renew the membership. So when they realize I've had one guy that's become a member like 6 times.
Oh,
He just keeps forgetting to click auto renew or something.
Euthanasia. For $5, maybe you have the funniest name. For $5, if money wasn't an issue, what one franchise would you all buy to develop and why?
Oh, I have an
Go
answer.
ahead, Vex.
Put your hands up, Vex.
This is why it's better when you're on camera. We could have saw you be like, "Oh, over here."
That's true. That's true. To Kill a Mockingbird.
Really?
MCU.
Yeah, I just like, don't get me wrong, the 60s film is great, but it still leaves out a lot of the big stuff that makes the book iconic. And if today's Hollywood were to make it, they would make it all about race, which is not the purpose of the book whatsoever.
Yeah, you're right.
So I would love to do an adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird. My second choice would be a Red Dead Redemption show.
Ooh.
Wow.
Fucking theater nerd.
There's a series of books that I read when I was young, and I just recently reread them, called Pendragon. It's like a 10 series book that's kind of like young adult, and I just want it to be a movie so bad. It's like the one series I've read where I listened to the author kind of talk about how he structured the book, and he wrote the entire arc of the whole series out before he started the first book. So the payoff is just so satisfying, and yeah, that's what I would do.
Nice.
I want to go against. So, like, obviously the easy ones to say are MCU, Star Wars, stuff like that. I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna say Resident Evil. I would like to finally see some good Resident Evil films because it's really fucking easy. The games are set up as B movies to begin with.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that. God, I remember when the original Resident Evil came out and Paul W.S. Anderson directed it. And even when I was young, I knew that.
But that was off of him doing a pretty good Mortal Kombat movie.
His one good movie.
You know?
His one good movie. Yeah, the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, I don't even think you need to really write the Resident Evil movies. You just have to be like, here's the games, just make it into a script and just do it. You know.
Platoon. It's for you.
Oh, JMag, 50 memberships. Thank you very much, sir. That might explain Princess Fiona from earlier, in fact.
That might actually.
JMac is spreading memberships like it's a STI.
He's spreading his seed all across the chat.
All across my fucking channel. Clean it up.
Clean yourself up. And Larry for $20.
Again.
Larry made us look again.
Yeah.
Damn it, Larry.
Damn it, Larry.
Did anyone actually look at his profile picture, by the way?
Yeah.
It's Marty Feldman.
Yep. Yeah, it's Marty Feldman as the Mona Lisa. That's fantastic.
Joe Eager for $20 as well. Thank you very much. Wait for all the shills to flip on the Acolyte now that it's canceled, just like they did with She-Hulk.
No, it won't do that because he'll still get to like that JT Suggs guy on Twitter. He'll just be like, 3 years time, will be like, can't get over how mind blowing the choreography in the Acolyte was. They won't stop. These people are firmly wedded because like they get invited to Disney and they get given the little loot boxes. Like they're very happy just sucking on the dick of whoever's giving them any Star Wars content, and they're not going to spurn that chance now.
The fight scenes were okay. Don't stab me. Don't stab me.
Please,
they were fine.
No one's
Aliens versus Borderlands.
Simon O for a California $2. Hear me out. Aliens versus Borderland.
Did you see that they announced an Alien Captain Marvel crossover in the comics recently?
I didn't realize Marvel did that.
Yeah, well, and now that Disney owns Fox, like they can cross everything. Because Fox used to cross, like honestly, as a comic book fan, when I was a kid, reading like Batman versus Predator 4 was awesome.
Alien crossed over with both with Batman, it crossed over with Superman and with Green Lantern.
Yep.
Judge Dredd and Batman. That was brilliant.
Do I need to read Batman or Superman to understand those alien crossovers?
No,
they're like completely isolated, just small stories. I think each one of them, I think all of them
4-issue miniseries usually.
Yeah, 4 to 5 issues.
My words, right? There's going to be a team up, right? A film. It'll be Superman and Spider-Man. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
Never happen. I would.
It's gonna happen.
Amount of money on it.
Don't say it'll never.
Gonna happen. I'm telling you now.
When they need to make fucking.
The problem is I can't actually win that bet, no matter like because if I say it'll never happen, I have it can go forever past my life. I can't win it. So
I think it'll happen though.
The final super chat here. Since I can't pronounce it and I've read all the other ones, someone else can.
Shahid
Shahid
Akbar.
Akbar.
For $5 Cameron showed us how to do a good sequel to Terminator 1 and Alien. Any ideas on what the formula to a worthy third film could be?
Like
Which
third
one?
film for
Terminator or
Cameron to
Alien?
do, or third Terminator or
one,
Alien
though?
film?
Yeah, which one?
I'm not entirely sure.
He's making
Maybe
a
just like
sequel to the
a
Terminator
third
film.
film in general.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think just in general.
I feel like
I think the question. I think you're right. I think the question is saying what would be the formula to do a good third film in any one of these series, because Cameron already. Because if you think about it, he kind of took the of a Terminator and Alien specifically. It's very similar. Take the first movie, crank up the action, make the stakes a little bit higher, and that was really it. So I'm thinking that's what the question
He
is.
said in the
what would be
chat-
the formula for?
He said in the chat, third film, so T3 or Alien 3.
Yeah.
Well, he's making another Terminator film, isn't he?
He said it's unlocking key. But
He was involved in the script for Dark Fate, so I don't like. You can't really necessarily bottle lightning. It would have been very funny though if like they'd taken Gladiator off of Ridley Scott and given it to James Cameron, and the second one is called Gladiators, and it's just a fight all the way through. Because like that was his success. Like he understands what makes a basically good action film using stories typically done by other people. I mean, T2 isn't that different in terms of storyline from T1. But putting it into a slightly different genre with a bit more happening, he knows what makes a very strong action scene. So like understanding that ingredient is fine. But like we've had plentiful examples of him, on his own trying to tell his own story with those same tricks. The same filmic tricks are deployed in something like Avatar, but the story fidelity is not there. So I think like the best example of a third film in anything is, do you have a story worth telling a third time? And if you don't do it, but don't make it just because you can.
It's
not
inherently
everything is
hard.
trilogy.
I was gonna say to do a trilogy properly. I feel like you got to Lord of the Rings it, where you have a beginning, middle, and end as your first, second, and third movie. It's easy to do a sequel because you can just crank up the first movie and have a successful sequel, but to crank up a sequel and make a good third movie, it's just redundant to that point. So if you don't start out with the idea that you're doing a third movie, I think it's kind of hard to land a trilogy that's not planned beforehand.
Is there any trilogy that isn't planned where each movie kind of does stand on its own?
Blade.
Or it's not? Don't tell me Blade?
Dude, fucking Blade's sweet.
Oh,
that's like me saying RoboCop.
It's not a trilogy anymore, but hear me out. Despicable Me.
Oh, go die.
Oh,
dude.
I saw the last one. I thought that was a lot of fun.
They can totally stand on their own, and they're all a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna shit on me for my takes, and you're gonna let these motherfuckers say that Despicable Me is pretty good. Really?
Oh, bad.
Why do you hate Despicable
Wash your
Me?
mouth out with soap water.
What is this?
Yeah,
wash
that more.
Where's the water?
Yeah, one of the problems is most of the times when that happens is they don't stop at 3. So where do we declare it a trilogy?
The fucking Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Perfect.
No, it wasn't. But the last one was rubbish. Come on.
I rewatched. What's the third Batman that Nolan did? What's it called?
Rises.
Dark Knight Rises.
Fuck, that movie is terrible. I
Yes,
rewatched
it
it
is.
yesterday.
Not very
Holy
good.
shit, man.
Yeah, it's not.
You came back to die for your city. No.
How did he get back into the city, though?
Great
That's
fucking
the question.
dialogue.
How did he get
he-
back in
wrote
Gotham
that-
City?
He wrote that film because Heath Ledger died, right? Heath Ledger was supposed to be in the third one, so it haunts me how good that film could have actually been.
Oh,
Yeah.
had he still been
so
around.
good.
Like the excuse for how he got back to Gotham is he's Batman, where I'm like, okay, that solves every problem then.
Yeah.
Or even watching the fucking movie. Like he's Batman, he's gonna win, right? So why am I even here?
I think Star Wars had a good trilogy, didn't it? Sorry, the first 3.
Ewoks.
Well,
The
you know,
first?
had teddy bears, I guess, but you know.
Ewoks.
Yeah, it
It's
starts
good.
falling apart with the third, but that's, I mean, you can go back and look at the old original notes and the original plans for 9 films as opposed to 3, and how dark it could have been, and how much of a better film Return of the Jedi could have been as well. But like, Return of the Jedi has got like some of the strongest scenes in the entire franchise, but as a film on its own right, it's not fantastic.
No, it's
What
not.
about Indiana Jones?
I love
Yeah.
all 3
Oh
of them.
yeah.
I
Second
don't
movie's
care what
that.
anyone says. Temple of Doom was one of the best. I love Temple of Doom. I don't care
Second
what
movie's
anyone
that.
says. You can kiss my ass.
It still works as a film, whether you like it or not. In all honesty, that's
It's fun as fuck.
That's a strong trilogy, I'd say.
Yeah, it's very strong.
If you don't count the the movies after. Fine
That's why trilogy. There's nothing afterward. What are you talking about?
Yeah, as long as you like nix almost half of the fucking movies out of the equation. Yeah.
3.
The final super chat of the night is from Film Comics Explained, who I was on his show a couple of weeks ago for an ass $20. Had a late night and missed the start of this. Good to see BSUP is back again. Yes, we are back again.
By the way, that isn't the last one. There's 2 more.
Oh, Jesus, never mind.
I'm never going to get out of here. Oh my god.
Oh, complaining about money. Oh my goodness.
Do it very quickly.
AJ Hawk's Toxic Finger for $2. Thomas Covenant Unbeliever needs a miniseries.
I have not heard of that.
Never heard of that.
Nor have I.
I haven't heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Larry, again, $5 more. Thanks, Larry. A great third movie is Goldfinger.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Actually, yeah, that is a great third movie.
It is a great. Yeah.
I will quickly thank all of my guests. If you want to give a shout out where the fuck you're going to be, go ahead. But I know a lot of you got to dip. So Dark Hour, thanks so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on. Just go. Anybody who's out there and hasn't watched it, I dropped a Alien Romulus review earlier today. So that's, and then I'm on a bunch of other streams in the near future. So
my guy's a streaming machine. Bagface, my editor, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I will be sitting right here, listening to Cynic fuck up his audio endlessly. One day I'm going to make a supercut. I've been taking out the best moments where he fucks up, just so everybody knows, and there will be a supercut of him just screaming into his microphone. So
about me fucking up talking because I can't speak and just like fuck. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I cut those. I cut those myself as well and keep some good ones occasionally.
Well, he edits my audio, so he gets to listen to all the bullshit. Me talking to myself, telling me I'm a fucking idiot. You know?
He talks to me sometimes too. It's good. It's fun stuff. So that's
I
where
don't inflict audio on people. I do that myself. I don't want people to know the number of times.
You do 3-hour videos.
Safety and Health Administration is cocked up throughout all my many hours of Acolyte video. No one has to suffer that except me.
I can tell you, anybody who watches any video I do, you can tell when I give up. There's always a line or two with every one of mine where I just gave up and it was the best take I could get, and I'm just like, nope, don't care anymore.
The one blooper I left in, I think it was the Rebel Moon Part 2, when there was the hamburgers character was on the screen. And I'd sort of committed to the they them thing, but for all of grammar, and it was very confusing. It's like everyone had every possible participle going, and I did have to retake that like 4 times. That all stayed in the video.
I couldn't imagine editing audio for a 3-hour fucking video. He has to edit like a 15-minute video, so he's fine. Vex, thanks so much for coming on. It's really great to talk to you.
It's my pleasure. Always thank you for having me on here. It's I like being the representation places. So.
I know. Notice all the representations on the bottom, like below all the white guys.
What? That's kind of racist now that you pointed it out.
I know. I'm just pointing out the reality of it. It's not. I'm not racist for pointing out.
I'm up here with all this supremacy up here. Just, you know.
We all know I'm not the only bottom on this stream.
Vex, I know where you'll be in a half hour with me on the MMM stream talking about the Crow.
Maybe you'll be on the top, Vex.
Oh, wait, what?
I said maybe you'll be on the top.
She's the host. She's one of the hosts.
She's the host. She'll be at the top of the
Well, you'll definitely be on the top then, won't you, Vex?
Yeah, we are reviewing The Crow in a half hour over on Cannoli Sasquatch's channel. If anyone wants to tune into that, that'll be a fun towel wedding time. I
will. I'll tweet it out too. I'll retweet it so everyone can link if you want to hop in there and listen to us talk about that. And Mega Geek, thank you for joining, man.
No worries, guys. No worries. Anytime.
Please, everyone, please check out Rebecca Gold. That is his channel. Is linked in the description. He's an actual fucking director that makes actual stuff. So,
also,
how is season 2 going?
Yeah, it's going well. I've got about 30 minutes left to shoot of it, but it's going to be hard because the first 30 minutes is quite expensive. So I'm slowly running out of money, but I should be able to
If
find
everyone
something.
goes and watches every
you said,
single
yeah.
episode of Rebecca Gold, which is only like 30 minutes, you can monetize Mega Geek.
Yeah, I know. That'd be great.
Yeah.
If you can, yeah.
And then he
Definitely.
can get money to fund his project. There you go.
Money. It's always good. Thank you for
but
having
no.
me on. Cheers.
Yeah,
cheers.
thanks, man. I appreciate you. In Platoon. Platoon.
What am I doing? Fuck, too many things. I always have too many things on the go. I'm way straight after this to do one of the many things that I have to do tonight. It'll probably be there might be an Acolyte supercut just so I can stick it all together. I was gonna maybe save that for season 2, but since it's not happening, lol, I'll just I'll stick it all together. It'll be like 1:30 an hour video. And otherwise it's just solidly working on Rings of Power, trying to get all that finished up before season 2, which is looking overly ambitious, but it'll come around the time season 2 starts.
Don't you sleep?
That will be
Don't you sleep?
No, I have time to sleep.
That man doesn't sleep. I can message him any time of day. He'll fucking answer.
Jesus.
Well, I'll answer, but like 2 days late. But it will be at any time of day.
I know he'll see it.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I will be on the MMM stream, which I'll tweet out because I know this goes private after. So, and we will be back next week too. It's the fucking plan. So we'll see you then. But until next time, guys, we'll catch you later.
Yeah, ta-da.
Bye.
Bye.